Hello everyone, it's your favorite blue-aligned planeswalker. I'm the control guy, and did kind of a different video today. Today I'm gonna be, due to your request, going over all Modern Horizons 3 cards and giving kind of my take on them for Timeless specifically. And obviously more focused on Control because that's what I play, but I'll still obviously say stuff about cards that go into other decks because in the end, Control kind of needs to be aware of every deck in the format. So yeah, we're just gonna be going over the cards. Some cards obviously are unplayable, some cards are gonna be super broken, so not every card is gonna get the equal amount of like speaking time. And it's how many? 522 cards as you can see up there. So this might either be a really long video or I just have to cut some cards short. So yeah, I'll read every card though, pretty much. And yeah, just we'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's jump right in. All right, so we start off with Breaker of Creation, 6 and a gray. When you cast the spell, you gain 1 life for each colorless permanent you control hexproof from each color, annihilated 2. So, right off the bat, all these big Eldrazi's. In Timeless right now, there is no good way to cast big Eldrazi spells. We don't have the Ugin's lands. We don't have the Ugin's Labyrinth. Not Ugin's Labyrinth. That's a card in this set. We don't have Eye of Ugin and Eldrazi Temple on the arena. So I don't know if we're gonna get those or whatever. But basically, those are lands that can produce 2 colorless mana for your Eldrazi. So essentially, these Eldrazi come down twice as fast. So that's the problem. All these big clunky Eldrazi's. There is a colorless deck, I guess, right now that has been played, but it's like tier 4, tier 3 at best. It's nowhere near the top. Some people play it in play queue. Like if you're gonna go colorless and timeless right now, it's better to just play Artifact Storm, which is also a tier 3 deck. So yeah, so I can't really evaluate how good all these huge colorless permanents are gonna be because we have to get enablers for them. And we get a few in this set, but we'll see. So yeah, this set obviously is trying to push like big Eldrazi's, but yeah, so say so Break of Creation already, like I think this is at the moment unplayable, but we'll have to see what Wizards gives us for colorless decks. Devour of Destiny, this is the one that you can reveal it from your opening hand and you get a Once Upon a Time. Also, by the way, forgive me if I don't edit cards onto the screen for every card here that I explain. Usually I will edit the card onto the screen if I name a card that you don't see. But man, this video might be really long, so who knows. Anyway, yeah, so this is a Once Upon a Time. And then later on, when you cast it, you exile 1 permanent, you get a half of an Ulamog. It's alright. Again, the effect seems pretty good. I like the selection, but it's a 7 mana spell, so I cannot know whether it's going to be playable or not because in Timeless right now, decks win on turn 3. So I don't know. I don't know if I can like say this is good, like because we just don't have that support yet. Anyway, next, the Drownyard Lurker. Actually, not seen this one before. When you cast or cycle Drownyard Lurker, create one of the Eldrazi spawns, which are all Eldrazi spawn tokens are O1s that can sacrifice for 1 gray, and I believe Eldrazi Scions are 1/1s that can sacrifice for a gray. So obviously these spawns that you ramp into your Eldrazi's, but again, at the moment I don't see a good way of mass producing them, so you're not gonna get one of these Eldrazi's down before like turn 5, and I don't think that's fast enough in Timeless for a one-time effect. And yeah, this one cycles or enters the battlefield as a 7 mana 7/7. Just seems very slow and clunky to me, but again, we'll see. The Eldrazi's are just hard to evaluate because you just can't know yet. We've not seen a good way to power them out. Anyway, Echoes of Eternity. This one's actually really interesting. If a triggered ability of a colorless spell you control or another colorless permanent you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. When you cast a colorless spell, copy it, you may choose new card targets with a copy. Now, this card, even though, obviously, as I was saying, might be a bit clunky, this could see play in the already existing Artifact Storm deck. There's this deck that plays a bunch of Mana Rocks and Paradox Engine. I think its mana base is green-black so that it can Dark Ritual and Channel and Tutor. But yeah, it plays a bunch of like these artifacts on top effect, and then it tries to win with Adaflux Reservoir by keep repeatedly casting that artifact creature that bounces back to your hand. So I think this could be good because this doubles triggers. So it will double all the triggers. It will double your draw triggers. It will double it will double your mana rocks to then try to tap a mana or sacrifice to draw cards, mind stones. It will double your paradox engine triggers so you can double tap the mana, and it will double your 8 plus reservoir triggers so you gain 2 heights of life. So in theory this could see play, but it's 6 mana, so you have to get it onto the battlefield somehow. Like, it's on its own, it's 6 mana for a blank card. It doesn't do anything without other cards in play, so I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, Eldrazi Ravager. Annihilator 1. Annihilator, by the way, is a pretty good ability. Pretty good ability, but again, only big Eldrazi's have it, so we'll see how useful that is. Sacrifice 2 Eldrazi. Return Eldrazi Ravager from your graveyard to your hand. This is a lower rarity. You can tell it's like lower rarity. It's like mid. It's like there's like a draft chop creature. You can cycle it and then sacrifice. The cool thing is it doesn't say non-token, so I guess you can sacrifice 2 of your spawns that you create and to get it back. That's pretty cool. But I don't know. I don't feel like this is a good card. It's just bad. Like, it's just too slow. It doesn't do enough for 6 mana. For 6 mana, when this thing for 7 mana acts as a permanent. You know. Anyway, next, Emrakul, the World Anew. This one is interesting. When you cast this spell, gain control of all creatures target player controls. So it's already a one-sided, not just board wipe, but board takeover. That's pretty good. And then flying protection from spells and from permanents that were cast this turn. So really interesting thing. You can't kill this with spells already. This is pretty much all Emrakul's protection from instants, because you can't kill it with a spell you cast this turn. And the weirdest thing is, it also is protection against Leyline Binding and Flash blockers, because Leyline Binding enters the battlefield and triggers, but it can't target this because it has protection from permanents that enter the battlefield this turn. So to kill this, you need a board wipe, or you need I don't even know. You have to transform Brutal Cathar. Like, it's so weird to remove this thing, but that's Emrakul. It's meant to be hard to remove. The scary thing is, obviously, this is when Emrakul dies. This is the Emrakul that has a actual downside as its dies trigger. When it dies, you have to sacrifice all creatures you control, so you lose your board when it dies. But it does gain control of your opponent's board, so you basically just kill all their creatures if this thing dies. And then the interesting thing about this Emrakul is Madness pays 6 gray. So 6 gray is, well, obviously easier to achieve than 7 or 12 gray. Will you consistently be able to generate 6 gray mana, but then also be able to discard Emrakul? That's the question. Because if you do, kills in 2 hits and gains control of all your opponent's creatures. So I think there could be a Forsaken Monument deck in Timeless that tries to utilize or the Pain Lands, for example, because the Pain Lands can tap for colors for 1 life, but they can also just for free tap for colorless. So in theory, you could use the Pain Lands, the green-black Pain Lands, to cast Channel or Dark Ritual out of Forsaken Monument, and then all your Pain Lands tap for 2 mana. And then that means of 3 Pain Lands, if you can somehow discard this, you can Collective Brutality your opponent, and then tap 6 mana and Madness is in. It's not impossible, but I don't know. Just Collective Brutality on Atraxa and then reanimate it, right? Isn't that just a better game plan? So, I don't know. I can't evaluate these colorless spells because I don't know how much support we're going to get on Timeless. Anywho. Glaring Flesh Racker. 3 mana Eldrazi. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, create a spawn. That's pretty good. And then whenever another colorless creature enters the battlefield under your control, deals 1 damage to each opponent. That is actually not bad. That's actually pretty good. That's like a what's a good comparison? That's a what's that card called? It's a goblin that deals 2 damage whenever you cast a spell, an instant sorcery spell. This is a cool colorless enabler. Like, it will make mana for every colorless spell you cast, and then it will also ping your opponent. Does it say non-token? It does not say non-token. So the spawn it creates will trigger it. So that's pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool. I like that. This could be a good enabler to like make a bunch of mana, because every colorless spell is basically now discounted by 1. Pretty cool. Alright. Next we have Heragast, Erupting Nullkite. So he's an Eldrazi dragon, legendary creature. Emerge 6 into red. Emerge means you may cast a spell by sacrificing a creature and paying the emerge cost reduced by that creature's mana value. So if you sacrifice a 6-drop, this is a 2 mana, 2 red mana, 6/6 with flying, and when you cast a spell, you may exile your hand if you do draw 3 cards, so it refills your hand. And then each creature spell you cast has emerge. Just has emerge, so and the emerge cost is equal to its mana cost. So the cool thing about Hairgrass, if you can somehow get it into play, which means you have to emerge a 6-drop and then pay 2 red mana, or you have to somehow reanimate it or some shit. Reanimating it costs 9 life though, that's wild. But now, all of your Eldrazi, because Eldrazi that don't have this grey mana symbol, the thing is, emerge can reduce the cost of can reduce the numbered mana cost, right? It cannot reduce the pip mana cost. That's how it works. Same with Emrakul. This isn't 6 generic mana. This is 6 grey mana. This is specifically colorless mana. But Eldrazi's that don't have these pip costs can now be emerged for like 0. So like you can just sacrifice an Eldrazi with higher mana value or with the same mana value, or no, any creature, and this cost will go down to 0. So if you have him, you can kind of like start chaining creatures together. And the funny thing is, he kind of works with this effect himself. If you control another, if you have another one in hand, he gives the spell he gives the other version of himself in your hand emerge, so you can cast the other one for its new emerge cost by sacrificing him, meaning it costs 0, and you get to discard your hand and draw you get to exile your hand and draw 3 cards. So that's the cool thing. I don't know if this will be a deck, but I think some kind of pop off Eldra, and yeah, if you have one of these on the battlefield, you start making spawns and pinging. So in theory, there could be some kind of pop off Eldrazi just emerge storm deck. Plug in an Aether's Reservoir, start gaining life, and dome your opponent for 50. I don't know. I can't evaluate these cards. Again, Colorless doesn't at the moment, Colorless does not have a lot of support in Timeless. We got Wastes in the Explorer Anthology a while ago, and there are the Pain lands that can also tap for Grey, and then obviously there's a bunch of Grey utility lands. But we don't have Ancient Tomb, we don't have City of Traitors, we don't have Crystal Vein, we don't have all those 2-mana tapping lands, and we don't have Eye of Ugin, we don't have Eldrazi Temple. Those are the lands we would need to make Eldrazi actually good. But yeah. Anyway, next, It That Heralds the End, a 2-mana Eldrazi, so 1 and a grey. Colorless spells you cast with mana value 7 or greater cost 1 less to cast. That's already pretty good. And all the colorless creatures you control cost have +1/+1. So an Eldrazi Lord that reduces the cost of your expensive Eldrazi. This could be relevant. Obviously, again, we don't have the lands that tap for 2. We get 1 in this set, which we'll showcase later. But again, no idea. Can't really evaluate how good this is because I have no idea how good Eldrazi is going to be in Timeless. Kozilek, the Broken Reality. So here's Kozilek. Legendary creature Eldrazi. When you cast this spell, up to 2 target players each manifest. Oh yeah, this one. Manifest 2 cards from their hand. For each card manifested this way, you draw a card. Okay. So, and then colorless creatures you control get +3/+2. That is a crazy buff. +3/+2 is insane. So, now this is the thing. I saw a lot of people saying, oh, this card gives your enemies 2 creatures. That's not very good, is it? That's not how this actually works. So first of all, to manifest a card, put it onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature. Turn it face up at any time for its mana cost if it's a creature card. So it's basically the old boomer version of Cloak we got from Merge That Call of Mana. But the thing is, it doesn't say the top 2 cards of their library. It manifests. You can choose up to 2 target players, and they each manifest 2 cards from their hand. It's not up to. They have to manifest 2 cards. This is making your opponent discard 2 cards. Against a control deck that has no creatures, they will not be able to turn those 2/2s face up. They're just grey 2/2s. You just cast a 9-mana 9/9. There's no way those 2/2s are going to make a difference for your opponent. Your opponent straight up just discarded 2 cards. It's that simple. And like, even if they are a creature deck, if you cast this against any deck in Timeless right now, they just discarded 2 cards. No creature in Timeless right now is that good, that flipping it face up would make the difference. So that's my point. This is making them discard 2 cards. You also discard 2 cards, but it also then says you draw a card for each card manifested this way. So you didn't discard 2 cards, you actually went up 2 cards because your opponent manifested and you manifested. So 4 cards were manifested, you draw 4 cards for putting 2 cards face down. So you went up 2 cards. And then, as if that wasn't enough, your creatures are not 2/2s, your creatures are 5/4s. So now they have 2 2/2s and you have a 9/9 and 2 5/4s. That's 19 power in play, and they got 2 2/2s. This Kozilek's abilities are really, really good. But will you be able to cast it? That's the question, right? How quickly can you cast this thing? Because if you're at the point where you're already like high nooned out of the game, or I just won, that your opponent has already won the game, like you're never gonna get to cast this thing. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, Kozilek command and a colorless command. I think the first colorless command we've ever gotten. Gray and X. Choose 2. Target player creates X spawn tokens. Which obviously the token we just talked about, and then target player scries X, then draws a card. So selection. And then it cantrips. Or exile target creature mana value X or less, so it's a removal spell. Pretty like bad removal spell, but a removal spell nonetheless. And then exile up to X target cards from graveyards, some graveyard hate. So this card, I think it's gonna give some good utility to the colorless deck. Because the colorless deck, because it runs so many colorless lands, isn't able to play many colored spells, and colored spells usually are what you need to deal with various situations. So I think it could be pretty good. It lets you draw a card, that's a blue effect. It lets you exile cards from graveyard, that's a black effect. And it lets you exile a creature with mana value X or less, that's a white effect. It's giving you colored effects on, and creating X1/0/1s for mana. That's, I guess, a green or a red effect. I don't know exactly, but it's giving you colored effects at a higher price for a colorless spell, which is good if there was a deck that can make a bunch of colorless mana, right? So yeah, that's my point exactly. If we can somehow make the mana work, this deck could be good. Next, we have Null Elemental Blast, and this one actually I think could be good, apart from its casting cost. Its casting cost is 1 specific gray. It has to be gray. You get to choose... You get to choose 1. Counter target multicolored spell or destroy target multicolored permanent. So for 1 gray, you can counter a Teferi, you can counter an Atraxa, you can destroy an Atraxa. But the thing is, the multicolored clause is going to make it so that it's like Vanishing Verse, where it's good in some situations, but then they just hit you with a Vein Ripper and you can't remove it and you die. So I don't know. This could be good. Probably going to be a good sideboard card for sure. Like, obviously, this is an homage to Blue Elemental Blast and Red Elemental Blast. But yeah, this is okay, but can't really be sure. I don't know how good this will be, because, again, I don't know how good the colorless deck will be. Anyway, next we have Null Drifter, which is a cool play on Muldrifter. I personally think Muldrifter is better, though, but we'll see. So when you cast this spell, draw 2 cards, flying, and it has flying, and it has Annihilator 1, which is actually pretty good. And it's you can evoke it. So when you evoke it, you cast it, but then it sacrifices as it enters the battlefield as a trigger. So you can do some shenanigans. You can counter the trigger. You can ephemerate it. But the thing is, the Null Drifter draws cards when you cast it. The Muldrifter draws cards when it enters the battlefield. So if you evoke Muldrifter, you draw 2 cards. Then it's trying to sacrifice itself. In response, you ephemerate it and blink it. It comes into the battlefield again and draws 2 cards again. Null Drifter doesn't do that, but Null Drifter's stats are better. Null Drifter is a 4/4. I think Muldrifter is a 2/2. But yeah. Anyway, so I think it's okay. This probably is going to be one of the better cards in the Eldrazi deck, because it's 7 mana, so all those cards that trigger when you cast the 7 mana spell will trigger. But anyway, I don't know, we'll see. Then we have also... Oh yeah, no, never mind. We have Twisted Riddle Keeper. Eldrazi Sphinx has Emerge for 5 and a gray-blue. Interesting. When you cast this spell, tap up to 2 permanents, put a stun counter on each of them flying. So again, this is one of the good old blue effects of tapping something and it doesn't untap. I like the fact that they made it stun counters because now you can proliferate them, but that effect is still not competitive playable, so just bad. And then we have Ulamog, the new Ulamog. This one, when you cast spell, target opponent exiles half the library rounded up. So that's a pretty good mill card if you ask me. Exiles half the library. That's not bad. Then Ward, sacrifice 2 permanents. That is pain because most likely as a control deck, you're going to either have to sacrifice 2 lands, or you're going to have to sacrifice your planeswalkers, or you're going to have to sacrifice High Noon. That's pretty annoying. So, going to want more board wipes. And then it enters the battlefield with X counters, where where X is the greatest mana value among cards in exile. Oh lord. So in a format with Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time, this may or may not quite often enter the battlefield with 8 additional counters, making it a 15-15. And Ulamog has Annihilator X, where X is number plus most counters on it. Annihilator 8 is game winning, so if this thing ever attacks, you probably just lose the game. Yeah, it's why. Like, this Ulamog is pretty good, but again, 10 mana. Can you cast that or not? Me personally, I would have liked to get back the Eldrazi's that shuffle your graveyard back into your library. That would have been cool, because that's kind of what I need against Mill, but it's all good. Warped Tusker. Reach, when you cycle... Oh, this is literally the same as the other one. When you cast or cycle it, you create a spawn. It's the same as the other one. Yeah, it's the same as Drownyard Lurker. Interesting. Yeah, okay, sure. Again, I don't think this is playable because I just don't know how good the deck will be. Anyway. Now we have Wastegate Battle Mage. Eldrazi Wizard. Kicker, green, and or 1 in the blue. So you can play this for gray, colorless gray. For 1 in a gray with no kicker. For 1 green and a gray. Or for 2 blue and a gray, or for 2 green, blue, and a gray, and kick it twice. So when you kick this spell, if it was kicked with its green kicker, exile target artifact or enchantment opponent controls, and when you kick the spell, if it was kicked with its blue kicker, return target creature and opponent controls to its owner's hand. So just some utility. If you have the colors, you can kick it, and yeah, cool, I suppose. Anyway. We get into white now. How long was that? 25 minutes just for colors? This video is going to be long. Alright, we have Airy Auxiliary. Yikes. When Airy Auxiliary enters the battlefield, support 2, put also add on each of up to 2 other target creatures. Not playable. Not playable in timeless. Way too slow, way too bad. Sorry guys, I have motorbikers driving around outside my house, so it might be a little loud every now and then. Anyway. Ajani Fells the Godsire. 5 mana enchantment, extra target creature opponent control with power 3 or greater. Create a white cat, a 2/1 white cat. Put a vicious counter on a creature you control. Target creature you control gains double strike. 5 mana, that's way too slow. That's not playable. Argent Dias. Argent Dias enters the battlefield with 2 oil counters on it whenever 1 or more creatures attack. 2 or more creatures attack. Put an oil counter on it. Remove 2 oil counters from it. Excellent level target non-permanent. Its controller draws a card. Seems too slow for timeless. This is one of those cards like Staff of the Storyteller where it might work in older formats, but I think this one is not even that good because it costs 2 mana to remove 2 oil counters and exile a permanent you control to draw a card off of it. I think this is meant to be some weird slow removal spell, but I don't think this is playable, so yeah, no. Next. Charitable Levy. Non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. Yeah, so remember how High Noon was Archon of Emeria on an enchantment? This is Thalia on an enchantment, and this is not going to be good in control because it makes all your other cards cost more. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, put a collection counter on Charitable Levy. Then if there are 3 or more collection counters on it, sacrifice it, you draw a card. Then you may search your library for a plays card put onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle. Lot of text. So basically, it ramps you and you draw a card after your opponent has to begrudgingly cast 3 non-creature spells, but no, actually you can cast non-creature spells too because it says player. It's a temporary Thalia, and it sounds okay. It kind of reminds me of the blue card Standstill in a weird way, but obviously Standstill is way more powerful. Standstill says basically Standstill says whenever a player casts a spell, the other player gets to draw 3 cards. So basically, and it's a 2-mana enchantment. So Standstill basically said, we're not going to play the game unless you want me to draw 3 cards for free. And I won't play the game because I don't want you to draw 3 cards for free. This is like that kind of, but it's always you that's going to draw the card. So yeah, this could be okay. This could be okay. This could actually be a cool card in control for the control mirror. But I don't know. I feel like this could be cool if there was like an Esper creature-based control deck. That would be cool, like an Esper tempo deck or something. But yeah, we'll see. Then Dog Umbra. Actually, let me drink some water first. Ah, my vocal cords. Anyway, Dog Umbra. 2-mana flash enchantment, enchant creature. Wait, do enchantments usually say enchant creature? Anyway, whatever. As long as another player controls enchanted creature, it can't attack or block. Otherwise, Dog Umbra has Umbra armor. If enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. Okay, so it's a pacifism, but if you use it on your own creature, it protects it. That's pretty cool, but not playable in Timeless for sure. Anyway, Envoy of the Ancestors, Outlast 1, pay 1 white and tap it. Put Physical Cascada on this creature, Outlast only as a sorcery. Modified creatures you control have a lifelink. Not playable in Timeless, way too slow. Effortless Reliquary, 3 mana, return another target permanent you control, and all auras you control attached to it to the owner's hand, activate only during your turn. Why would you want to bounce all your auras back to your hand? I'm trying to see if this is some kind of. This is definitely. This is meant to be a. Activate only during your turn. What even is this supposed to be? Because this isn't a protection trick. Do they intend for this to be a combo piece? Like, play a creature that untaps a permanent, untap a permanent, tap this, return that creature to your hand. Play the creature again. It untaps this. You can tap it again. There might be some kind of combo potential with this, but I don't think it's playable at the moment. Expel the Unworthy. 2-mana sorcery. Choose target creature with mana value 3 or less. If the spell is kicked, instead to target creature, exile the chosen creature, then its controller gains life equal to its mana value. Interesting. So it's a slow swords to plowshares, but instead of equal to power, they gain life equal to mana value. But then it's slow because it costs 1 more than swords and can only hit small creatures, or costs 4 more than swords and can hit every creature. Yeah, this is why Swords to Plowshares is a really good card, because the latest MH3 version of it is horrible. This is not playable, I don't think. This is just not playable. No, don't even. It's like a common, so you probably just draw impacts, but don't use this. The first Flare of Fortitude. The Flare cycle is a cycle where you can sacrifice a non-token creature of the same color to cast the spell for free. So, you must sacrifice a non-token white creature rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Until the end of turn, your life total can't change, and permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible. Kind of a mini Teferi's Protection. This is pretty cool. Because you can kind of like just be like, yeah, I'm out of here. I mean, the thing is, it doesn't say you can't lose the game. So if your opponent is going off with show and tell, they can still cast Approach of the Second Sun to win the game. But it's cool. I don't think it's a good card though. I don't think you're gonna put it into decks. It could be played in the sideboard of some deck, but I don't think this is a great card. So yeah. Anyway, Glyph Elemental, Bestow, which means you can cast it as an aura, I believe. So landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put +1 counter on Glyph Elemental. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on Glyph Elemental. For each +1 counter on Glyph Elemental. So it's a creature or an aura, and yeah, so it's decent. I think it's alright. It's an alright okay card, but not playable at Timeless. Guardian of the Forgotten Vigilance. Whenever modified creature you control dies, manifest top card of your library. Not playable in Timeless. Okay, Guide of Souls. This one could be good. So, and we're getting into energy. So there's a big energy focus in this set. So we'll see how this is. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under control, you gain 1 life and get an energy. Whenever you attack, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, put 2 plus personal counters and a flying counter on target attacking creature. It becomes an angel in addition to its other types. So this is a Soul Sister because it gains 1 life whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control. But it also produces an energy. I think this could be part of combos. This could be part of a life gain deck. Life gain is like tier 3 in Timeless. It's not that good at the moment, but who knows? Maybe we can see some play. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see. Anyway, Hex Goldsmith. So yeah, that one's decent. Guide of Souls is decent, not like amazing yet, but you never know. It could be really good in some deck. Hexgold Slith. When Hexgold Slith enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. When Hexgold Slith attacks, you may pay 2 energy if you get its first strike. Oh my god. Anyway, when you do it, gets first strike on the end of turn. When Hexgold Slith deals combat damage, you'll play a personal counter on it. Not playable in Timeless. In Deadly Spirit, 1 mana, bestow. Okay, can be Afterlife 1, enchant creature as possible and Afterlife 1. When Afterlife 1 is when it dies, it's an Orzhov mechanic back in the day, but when it dies, when it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1 white spirit creature token with flying. That card isn't playable in Timeless. Inspired Inventor. When at the end of the battlefield, choose 1. Either get 3 energy, put a personal counter on target creature, or create a server. Not playable in Timeless. It's a 3 mana 2/2 that does basically nothing. Jolted Awake. So Jolted Awake, this one's interesting. So choose up to 1 target artifact or creature your card in your graveyard. You get 2 energy. Then you may pay any amount of energy. You may pay an amount of energy equal to that creature's mana value if you do return it from your graveyard to the battlefield and this card has cycling. As I was just talking about, energy generation actually seems like a very potent mechanic in Timeless, because as we will see soon, there's a bunch of good energy cards. A Reanimate that doesn't cost life, but rather costs energy in white is interesting. That is interesting. It also reanimates artifacts. There's this artifact called Aetherworks Marvel, I think. It's the one that lets you pay 6 energy to cast a card for free from the top 6 cards of your library. That's an artifact. If you can get it in your graveyard, you can reanimate it with Jolted Awake. And Jolted Awake already gives you 2 energy, so on its own, it can already reanimate a Bowmaster or a Ragavan or whatever. I think this card could see play in Timeless, because even in its worst case, when you have no creature in your graveyard, when they have a Leyline of the Void on the battlefield, it does cycle for 2. So... And it says up to 1 target, so you can just cast it as white energy ritual, where you just get 2 energy. I think this card could see play. This card could see play in an energy deck. Who knows? I might make a blue-white deck that has Atraxa in it and can discard Atraxa and reanimate it by just generating energy. Who knows? That could be a funny deck. But anyway, then we have Mandibular Kite. Equipment, Living Weapon. Living Weapon is immediately interesting. Probably a bad card. Let me actually just read it real quick. +1/+1 on flying. Pretty bad card. But Living Weapon is interesting because we have Stoneforge Mystic and Timeless. And Stoneforge Mystic loves Living Weapon because you can just put it in and then it is a creature. So yeah, this equipment specifically isn't great, but who knows. Metastatic Evangel. Whenever a non-token creature you control enters the battlefield, you control proliferate. So this is 2 mana 3/1. It's not playable in Timeless, but the effect is interesting. Alright, Muster the Departed. When Muster the Departed enters the battlefield, 3 mana enchantment, by the way. Create a spirit and then morbid at the beginning of your end step. If a creature died this turn, populate. Create a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. Not playable in Timeless. Nixborn Unicorn, Bestow, Mentor. Mentor is when it attacks and it has greater power than a creature you control. A creature with lesser power gets a possible counter. That's basically Mentor. Enchanted creature, I guess, on Super has Mentor. So basically, yeah, no, it's not playable. Unplayable in Timeless. Ocelot Pride. This one might be playable in Timeless. So, Fast Strike Lifelink. Ascend, so if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the city's blessing for the rest of the game. So that's pretty cool. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, create a 1/1 white cat creature token. Then if you have the city's blessing, for each token you control that entered the battlefield this turn, create a token that's a copy. This card is stacked for the fact that it costs 1 mana. This is a really, really good one-drop. I feel like this with the other one-drop we just saw, Guy of Souls, is already gaining you energy and life. Like, it's great. It goes off. Like, you have this, you play this. This gains you 1 life and 1 energy. So this will trigger at your end step because you gain life and make a 1/1, which will then, does it say non-token? It does not say non-token. Will trigger this, gaining you another life and another energy. So this just goes off really, really hard. Like, and then you have 3 creatures and 2 lands, so that's already 5 permanents. So that's already half the way to City's Blessing. This card could be really, really good. I don't know. I don't think there's a deck for it right now in Timeless, but there could be a deck around this card that would be really good. Obviously, it's not a control card at all, but get your board wipes ready. I'm telling you, we will need them in control. Anyway, Pearl Ear Imperial Advisor. Fox Advisor. Okay, lifelink. Enchantment spells you control, you cast have affinity for auras. Interesting. And then whenever you cast an aura spell that targets a modified permanent you control, you draw a card. Modified means has a counter on it, is equipped, or has an aura on it. Yeah. So basically, it's a Voltron commander. Not playable in Timeless, but could be a cool commander. Then Failure, Exuberant Shepherd. There always has to be a cute dog in every set. When Failure enters the battlefield, S up to 1 target non-permanent at the beginning of your next end step, return the card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it enters under your control, put a possible counter on Failure. Probably not Timeless playable. It's like, it could be cool though. There could be a Yorion Death on Taxes deck, and this card loops Yorion every turn, right? Because it enters the battlefield, exiles Yorion, then Yorion enters the battlefield, exiles it, then this enters the battlefield, exiles Yorion. So every other turn, you'll just keep getting value out of your Yorion loops. So that's pretty cool. It's like a Charming Prince in that sense, right? And worst case, you can reset the counters on a permanent your opponent controls, for example. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff. Anyway, Proud Pack Rhino. When it enters about you put She-Hulk attack opponent proliferate. This is not playable in Timeless. Rose Cotton Knight. Visual when it enters the battlefield. 5 mana, probably not playable. Look at top 6 cards of your library, reveal an artifact to enchantment from among them, put it into your hand, not playable. Put the rest on the bottom. If no card was put a plus 1 counter on the creature, not playable in Timeless. Solstice Zealot. When it's battlefield, you gain 2 energy, pay 1 energy, tap a creature, not playable in Timeless. Now, Static Prison is interesting. So, Static Prison, when it enters battlefield, exercise on a permanent you control, an opponent controls until Static Prison leaves the battlefield, and you gain 2 energy. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, sacrifice Static Prison unless you pay 1 energy. So basically, this is saying that if you can stably make energy, this is a leyline binding that doesn't require a domain. That is very interesting. Very, very interesting. My only issue with this card is that it actually costs 1 mana and it's a permanent, so it gets swept up by temporary lockdown. So this would go into like a Divine Purge Supreme Verdict deck. But I think if there is an energy control deck, this could go in it, and it's uncommon. Uncommon is really cool. Like, you don't have to waste rare wildcards on it. I think this card could see play. This card could definitely see play. It's great when you have 1 of them. Obviously, if you have 2 of them, you have to pay 2 energy a turn. If you have 3, you have to start paying 3 energy a turn. So it's gonna be kind of hard. Where like, I don't know how much energy we'll be able to generate, but I don't know how long we'll be able to keep these alive. But it's a cool card. It's definitely a cool card. Oh, it's a 1 mana removal spell, which we really need in Timeless, and could see play. I don't know how good it will be. It might not be a 4 of, it might be a 2 of, in addition to your Source to Plowshares, but pretty cool card. I like this. Anyway, Thraben Charm. Let's see. Choose one. 3-way charm deals damage equal to twice the number of creature you control the target creature. Destroy target enchantment or exit any number of target players' graveyards. Could be a sideboard card against graveyards and enchantments. I don't think this is a really good charm, but it's okay. It's a common, I guess. I don't know. Vault Storm Angel. When a Vault Storm Angel enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy at the beginning of combat. On your turn, you may pay 2 energy. When you do choose one, it gains a vigilance and lifelink, or the creatures get +1/+1. 5 mana 4/4. It's a power crept Sarah Angel, but it's still not playable in Timeless. Let's see. White Orchid Phantom. This is the land destruction one, right? So two mana for a 2/2. Flying First Strike, not bad. When it enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target non-basic land. This controller may search a library for a basic land and put it onto the battlefield. Tap, then shuffle. This card is gonna be good. This is definitely gonna see play in the Hate Bears deck, right? The deck that just has a bunch of annoying low-cost creatures that just do stuff. This makes a Leyline Binding mana base really hard to manage because they will cast this, you lose your Triumph, and now your Leyline Binding costs 3 mana for the rest of the game. This might be a bit tough to deal with, but yeah. So this card is really good. It blows up Field of the Dead. It blows up, like, this card is really good. I think White Orchid Phantom is really, really good. I'm gonna hate playing against it. It's so annoying because even if you kill it, it still did what it wanted to do. It activated a Field of Ruin on you, and that's like something that in Timeless you don't run many basics, right? This might be tricky to deal with. Anyway, next, Wing It. Target creature gets +2/+2 onto the turn, put a flying counter on it. I like the fact that it gets a flying counter, so the counter sticks around, but not a playable card. And then, ooh, this one is really cool. Wrath of the Skies. 2 and X, you get X energy, then you may pay any amount of energy and destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with mana value less than or equal to the energy paid this way. Now, this, I think, is going to be this card might be why we are able to play a blue-white energy control deck. Because, also, well, it might be blue-white, it might be banned, we'll see, but because you don't have to pay X to destroy a lot of creatures. If you already have the energy, you can just play 2 mana, pay 5 energy, and destroy everything. Like, it's a good card. This is a good card. The problem that I just mentioned is obviously Static Prison, for example, is a 1 mana enchantment. So if you destroy anything more than 1 mana, you will destroy all your Static Prisons. Like, that's the problem. It non-bows with some things because it destroys enchantments. You can't really play this in like High Noon because if you pay 2 energy into it, you will destroy your 2 mana enchantment. Same goes for artifacts. You can't play it with artifacts because it will destroy your own stuff too. But if you're building around it, if your deck is instant sorceries and planeswalkers, this is a good sweeper. And you always can like, if you have a Teferi Hero of Dominaria on the battlefield and you know you only need 2 mana, you can tap out, gain a bunch of energy, destroy what you need to destroy, and then on your end step you can untap 2 lands. I think this card is going to be really, really good. But we'll see again. I can't really evaluate it because I don't know how good energy will be, but this sounds really good. Anyway, that's it for White. How long did that take? That took almost another 25 minutes. This video is going to be long. Holy shit, we have 3 colors to go. 4 colors to go. Aether Spike. Choose target spell. You get 2 energy. You may then pay any amount of energy. Counter that spell unless the controller pays 1 for each energy paid this way. Could be good. This could be good. I don't know for sure, but why not just play counter spell, right? Like, this could be good, don't get me wrong. Because it's any spell, right? But we already have a very strong counterspell suite in Timeless. We have counterspell and mana drain, so we don't really need this. But it's a decent card. Amphibian Downpour. It has flash and storm. So when you cast it, you copy it for every spell cast this turn, and the copy enters tokens, obviously. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a frog with base power and toughness 1/1. I don't know why they gave Frogify a storm, but I suppose you can now kind of board wipe if you've stormed off before. Really weird and interesting. I don't know where this will see play, people have been saying this might see play in Enchantress, where they have an Enchantress effect that draws cards when the enchantment enters the battlefield. I don't think this is a great card. I will have to see. This is they designed this for a reason. The fair way to play it is probably play a spell and then remove two things, but we'll see how this plays out. I don't know. Anyway, Bespoke the Battle Wagon. 4 mana enchantment. Not enchantment. Artifact vehicle. Tap it, get 2 energy. Tap it, pay 2 energy, tap target creature. Tap it, pay 3 energy, draw a card. And then pay 4 energy, it becomes a creature. And you can crew it for 4. I don't think this is playable in Timeless. Brain Surge. So Brain Surge is basically a bigger Brainstorm. Draw 4 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library. So Brainstorm draws 3 cards, so you go up 1 card. This draws 4 cards, so you're going up 2 cards. So it's a 3 mana instant speed draw 2 cards essentially, and put the worst 2 cards from your hand back on your library. I don't think this is playable enough for Timeless, because these effects usually only see play in Explorer, those draw 2 cards for 3 mana in Control. Because in Timeless, we have stronger effects. We have the One Ring, we have Teferi, we have Dig Through Time, we have Treasure Cruise, right? So I don't think Brain Surge will see play, but it is cool that we're getting another kind of brainstormy effect. That's pretty cool. Anyway, Consign to Memory. Replicate 1. When you cast a spell, copy it for each time you paid its replicate cost. Counter target triggered ability or colorless spell. Now, this card looks pretty, very niche on the top. But for 1 mana, countering a triggered ability is pretty cool. And don't forget, you can replicate it as often as you want to counter more triggered abilities. I'm not even looking at the colorless spell part, because for 1 mana counting a colorless spell is pretty good. That's pretty good. But, you can counter the One Ring, for example. You can counter an Ugin. But triggered ability, that sounds interesting, because I wish you could counter activated abilities too, but I see why they wouldn't print that. But Storm is a triggered ability, not the copies on the stack. No, you have to counter it as it's still a triggered ability that says Storm, but you can counter that, so you can counter Temples of Agony. And yeah, I don't know. This card could be good. We'll see. It looks like a sideboard card, but we'll see. Anyway, Copy Crook. 4 mana. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has whenever this creature attacks, it connives. This looks like a card that was just not accidentally not added to New Capenna, but not playable in Timeless. Corrupted Shapeshifter. Okay, Corrupted Shapeshifter. Yeah, Devoid. So it has no color. Even though it costs a blue, it's a colorless creature and a colorless spell and a colorless card in your deck. Devoid counts on a deck building level. It's colorless before the game even starts. So you can't search your library for a blue card or whatever. It's a colorless card. As it enters the battlefield, it becomes your choice of a 3/3 creature with flying, a 2/5 creature with vigilance, or an 0/12 creature with defender. Very interesting card. Almost looks like an alchemy card to me, but unplayable. 4 mana for that. Unplayable at Timeless. Next. Deem Inferior. 4 mana. This spell costs 1 less of cards for each card you've drawn this turn. The owner of target non-permanent puts it into their library second from the top. Oh. Wait a minute. Second from the... Ooh. Oh. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So, library shuffling, library setting is the best blue removal you will get. The best blue aligned removal effect. Obviously, there's blue cards that can exile or whatever, but putting something in their library is really good. It does it for non-land permanents. It's a sorcery. If it was instant, this would be actually insane. I think this card might be playable, though. This might just be playable because of a little card called Brainstorm in Timeless. And that's the thing, right? This is probably not playable in Modern, but in Timeless, we have Brainstorm. So, you Brainstorm, fetch away your bad cards, and then for 1 mana, because Brainstorm drew you 3 cards, actually. Oh, Never mind, I lied. This is just a 3 mana spell. It's not a 4 mana spell because it counts the first card you draw on your draw step. So it's just a 3 mana spell. But anyway, Brainstorm still makes this cost 1. And then it basically becomes a really good removal spell. This card is a sleeper card. I think this card could see play in Timeless. It seems pretty good. Any non-land permanent gets shuffled into the library. That seems pretty good. So yeah. Next, Depth Defiler. Devoid. So it's not blue, it's colorless, and then he has Kicker for gray. When you cast this spell, choose one. If it was kicked, choose both instead. Return target creature on his hand. Target player draws 2, then discards a card. Unplayable. Too expensive for Timeless. Dreamtide Whale. Vanishing 2. 3 mana 7/7. When a player casts the second spell, turn proliferate. You can cast this, then cast a Bishop's Bauble on 3, and it has Vanishing. It suddenly has Vanishing 3. Vanishing 2 means, by the way, that at the beginning of your end step, I think. No, upkeep. At the beginning of your upkeep, you remove a time counter from it, and when its last time counter is removed, you sacrifice it. It's a big creature. Do you know what else? Actually, no, we don't have that on Arena. So this is a big creature. This could go into like the Is It aggro deck. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if this is playable. It's a big creature with no keywords. It doesn't have flying. It doesn't have anything. So I don't know if this is good because there's already other big creatures in blue, and they don't see play. So we'll see. Anyway, Electrozoa. Flash flying. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, tap Electrozoa unless you pay energy. A 3-mana 3/1 flyer with flash that has downside. What about Brazen Borrower? And Brazen Borrower already doesn't see play, so no, this is just a bad card, in my opinion. Anyway, Emrakul's Messenger. 2 mana, straight up, but it's devoid. Whenever you draw your second card your turn, you create a spawn. That could be good, but probably not playable in Timeless. Now we have Flare of Denial. I think this card is really good. Flare of Denial, you may sacrifice a non-token blue creature rather than pay its mana cost and just counter target spell. So it's a 3-mana counter spell on the top. It does nothing but counter a spell, but then you can cast it for absolutely free by sacrificing a blue creature. I think this is absolutely broken as hell. This card is going to see play for sure. The only problem is that non-token blue creature means that it's likely not going to see play in Control because what non-token blue creature do we have, right? We get Subtlety, but I don't think just because of Subtlety this is playable. I think you need more creatures to make this work. And there is a blue deck, though, that would really like a free counterspell that has creatures. Merfolk. I think this set might make Merfolk a really good deck in Timeless because you have non-token blue creatures that you can sacrifice. And the next card, Harbinger of the Seas, is a blue Magnus of the Moon. It's a Blood Moon effect for blue. Non-basic lands are islands. This card in Merfolk is going to destroy people. Not me, because in Control decks, if your non-basics are blue, you can still cast all your card draw and counter spells. So it's fine for blue decks, but like this will destroy like the Jund deck. Like the Jund deck against Merfolk, and they just resolve a Harbinger of Seas. Now they have islands and can't do anything with their mana. Harbinger of the Seas and Flare of Denial are 2 insane cards for Merfolk, and I think Merfolk, because of these 2 cards, is going to see play in Timeless now. It's going to be a good deck, I think. We'll see though. Anyway, Hope Ender Coatl. 3 mana, devoid flash. When you cast a spell, counter target spell and an opponent controls unless they pay 1. So it's like it's cool. If there ever is an Eldrazi tempo or aggro deck, this is cool because it can kind of like put a threat on the battlefield while also countering a spell. So yeah, that's interesting. Kozilek's Unsealing. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 4, 5, or 6, create a spawn. Create 2 spawns, actually. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, you draw 3 cards. So remember, as I said, there could be this cool Emerge Storm deck. This is one of the reasons why it could exist, right? You can just keep emerging creatures with that Emerge Dragon. I don't know if this is going to see play. I think this card is alright. It's probably not amazing, but it seems pretty good. for what it does. There just needs to be a deck to build around it, and we'll see if people figure out how to do that. Anyway, Petrifying Meddler. Devoid. When you cast this spell, tap up to 2 target creatures, put stun counters on them, unplayable. That, again, whenever you read this effect of tap creatures, put a stun count on them, it's not playable in Timeless. It's too slow. What does tapping a shield do for you? Like, it does nothing, right? What happens when you tap a Bowmaster? That does nothing. Like, it still triggers its abilities and stuff, so. Anyway, Royal Cartographer. Landfall. Whenever a land is above you control, you get an energy, and you can pay 6 energy to draw 3 cards. I don't think this is going to be playable in Timeless, but I like where this is going. Like, being able to make energy just off lands entering the battlefield seems pretty good to me. Anyway, next. Sage of the Unknowable. Add a gray, spends my only to cast colorless spells or activate an ability. Not playable in Timeless. Serum Visionary. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card and then scratch 2. It's Serum Visions on a creature. Not playable in Timeless, too slow. Shadow of the Second Sun. So, enchant player, at the beginning of enchanted player's post-combat main phase, there is an additional beginning phase after this phase. So, basically, and the end step happens after the... What? The end step happens after the added untap, upkeep, and draw step? No, it doesn't, because it's the beginning of the post-combat main phase. So after that beginning phase, the post-combat main phase happens. I don't know why they... Anyway, the wording is really weird on this. I've heard people say it's unplayable. I think it's actually pretty cool. I don't think it's ever castable in Timeless. It's just way too slow. But the effect is cool. You kind of get like, well, it's not actually a Wilderness Reclamation, because you don't get a trigger that you can float all your mana to in response. But you do get an untap. It's literally another beginning phase, so you get an untap, upkeep, and a draw step. So you draw an extra card of this, and if you cast it on your first main phase, you untap all your lands, so it costs 0 mana, and then you get an extra draw step, and you get an extra upkeep, I suppose. So any upkeep triggers you have, the One Ring will deal damage to you again. That's pretty funny. I don't think this is a playable card. It's an interesting card, though, and I wonder how it actually works, because it says the end step happens after the added untap, upkeep, and draw step. That's really weird. I don't know how that happens, because it's at the beginning of the main phase. Whatever. Strix Serenade. So we have Swan Song, now we get Strix Serenade. Strix Serenade counters target artifact, creature, or planeswalker spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 blue bird with flying. I don't think this card will see play, because in Timeless, giving your opponent a 2/2 with flying is gonna kill you quickly. It's gonna kill you too quickly. And the type of spells it targets are too irrelevant. Countering a creature for 1, but giving them a 2/2 creature doesn't make a lot of sense most of the time. And same goes for an artifact, and same goes for a planeswalker. I guess against planeswalkers that's the best. So this card at best counted as a planeswalker, but planeswalkers aren't like a very played type in Timeless. Like, I don't know. Anyway, so I don't think this card is very good. Tamia meets the Story Circle. Until your next turn. Whenever a creature attacks you or planeswalker control, it gets ±2. Oh, that's actually pretty good for 2 mana. Then discard any number of cards, then investigate twice for each card discarded this way. Create a bunch of artifacts that let you draw cards. And then shuffle up to 3 target cards from your graveyard into your library. This is an interesting one. This is an interesting saga. The shuffling 3 cards is actually very interesting, because in Timeless, being able to loop your library is cool. The fact that it makes so when a creature attacks you, it gets -2/-0 means Ragavan, Bowmasters, Etchings of Kamano, the black saga that flips into a creature. All these creatures don't do damage to you. Non-delirious Dragon's Reach Chandler. I don't know about the discard any number of cards and make investigate. I don't know about that. That might be a bit too slow. But you are making a bunch of artifacts, and you can draw cards off of those investigate tokens, and you investigate twice. So even if you can discard one irrelevant card and investigate it twice, that's pretty good. I think Tamiya meets a story circle. It's one of those cards I would try it, and then it's likely not going to be good enough. Yeah, I'll try it, and it's likely not going to be good enough. But we'll see. This card would be really cool in Explorer. I think in Explorer this card would thrive, but unfortunately this set is not legal in Explorer. But this card would be really cool in Explorer. Anyway, Tempest Harvester. It is battlefield, you get 2 energy, pay 1 enemy energy, draw a card, discard a card, not playable. Triton Wave Breaker. It's a creature, but it has bestow. As long as it's a creature, it has prowess. And enchanted creature has +1/+1 under its prowess. This could be actually pretty good. I mean, Monastery Swiftspear is a cool card with prowess, but the thing is it has haste, that's why it's probably very playable. There could be an Is It Prowess deck though, because they would have this Swiftspear, Slickshot Throw-Off. The thing is this is slow because it doesn't have haste, but I think this could see play in theory. Like, don't forget, you can bestow this onto a what's it called? Onto a Slickshot Show-Off, which would make the Slickshot trigger, because when you bestow, it's not a creature, it's an aura, right? So when you bestow it, it triggers Slickshot, and then it gives Slickshot an additional iteration of prowess, so you can just go off. This could be a good card. I think this could be playable. It's a good 1-drop for sure. Speaking of good 1-drops, Tune the Narrative. Draw a card, you get 2 energy. This card, if we ever play that energy control deck, this card is in it, because this card gives you 2 energy for free. It just is 1 mana, get 2 energy, replace itself. I think this card is really good. I think this card would be really good in the energy deck. You can play this attuned with Aether, so you have 8 1-mana ways of just getting 2 energy, and then you can have that board wipe. This is gonna be really good. Anyway, Ugin's Binding. Return target non-permanent you control or you don't control to its owner's hand, and when you cast a 7-mana colorless spell, you exile it and you get a Cyclonic Rift for Overloaded. I think this is okay, but it's probably just, I don't think it'll, again, I can't really evaluate it because I don't know how good the colorless deck will be in Timeless. Anyway, Unfathomable Truths. Devoid, draw 3 cards and create a spawn. It's 5 mana, it's unplayable in Timeless. Utter Insignificance. Good old Lovecraftian horror, huh? Enchant creature loses all abilities, has base power and toughness 1. And then you can pay gray to exile enchanted creature. Unplayable and Timeless. Good that it loses all abilities, but still unplayable. Volatile Storm Drake. So hexproof from activated and triggered abilities. Can't be leyline binding. Can only be directly removed. When it enters the battlefield, exchange control of Storm Drake and target creature an opponent controls. If you do, you get 4 energy. Then sacrifice that creature unless you pay energy equal to its mana value. So it's a Gilded Drake. You get to swap creatures, but you basically get to remove a creature, but you give them a 3/2. I don't know how good this will be. I really don't. I really don't think it'll be playable, but we'll see. Like, I might be just surprised by this. And the reason why it has hexproof from activated and triggered abilities is so you can't just keep giving them Gilded Drakes. But yeah, okay, interesting. That's blue. Blue is done. We are now at 1 hour and 6 minutes. So it's pretty much 25 minutes per color. Alright, let's do... Oh, we still have black, red, and green to do. Oh my lord. Alright. Alright, black. Cursed Marauder. This is a 2-mana... I forgot that card, but when it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a non-token creature. It's an Edict on a stick. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool effect, pretty useful. I don't know if it'll see play on Timeless, but it definitely could. Because it's basically the Sheoldred's Edict thing, where they have to sacrifice a non-token. They can't just throw away one of their stupid tokens. And if you have a better non-token to sacrifice, like for example, a Bloodghast or a Stitch Supplier, you get to keep a 2/1. So I think this is actually a pretty good card. I think this card is pretty good. Could see play. Arcbound Condor. Flying, modular 3, when it enters the battlefield, it enters the battlefield with 3 counters. When it dies, you may put its counters on target artifact or creature. No, on target artifact creature. Okay. Whenever another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, target creature and opponent controls gets -1/-1. Why not a -1/-1 counter? Not playable in timeless. Breathe your last. 3 mana. Destroy target creature or planeswalker, you gain 1 life for each of its colors. Upgraded murder. This could actually see play because it's upgraded murder, and you can gain 1 life of them. This could see play as a one-off in my Dimir Jace deck because I did need a kill all. Yeah, maybe. This is probably like, it's not a 4-off, but it could be a 1-off in a deck that just needs a way to kill a big creature. Yeah, why not? It's an instant spell too, pretty good. Chthonian Nightmare. This one it's hard to evaluate, but ends buff, you get 3 energy. Then you can pay X energy, sacrifice a creature, return this to its owner's hand, and then you return a creature card with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you could kind of like, you return this to your hand as well. So when you cast it again, you gain more energy. So it's kind of like this weird, interesting looping graveyard effect where you just keep getting creatures back in and out of the graveyard for energy. And actually, if you do it with cheap creatures, you're actually gaining more and more energy every time you do it. Like, for example, you play turn 1 Stitches Supplier, then you play this. You instantly get 3 energy. You get to then pay 1 energy. Maybe Stitches Supplier, Milder Bowmaster, right? You get to pay 2 energy. You get 3 energy, pay 2 energy. Sacrifice Stitches Supplier, then you put this in, you bounce this and get Bowmaster back on turn 2. I don't know. Could be good. You gained energy from that. I have no idea how good that will be. So 2 mana is a good cost though, so we'll see. Consuming Corruption deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and you gain X life for X number of swamps you control. This is a power crept Sorin's Thirst. Doesn't seem better than it can't hit face. That's the big problem with this card. If it could hit face, this would be a cool win condition for those mono black decks in the late game, right? But it can't. So you might as well just play March of Wretched Sorrow because that combo is better with Necropotence, right? Alright. Abomination. Too slow for timeless. But cool card though. Emerged from an artifact. So you have to sacrifice an artifact, not a creature. For its emerge cost, and then when it enters the battlefield, target opponent exiles the top card of the library, a card at random from the graveyard, and a card at random from the hand. You look at all 3, choose 1, and you may play 1 without paying its mana cost. Pretty cool card, pretty cool effect, but it can whiff. And it's a 5/5, which is good. If you have artifacts, I don't see a deck that wants this at the moment, but maybe there'll be a bit of deck someday. The Creation of Avacyn. So you search the library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle. If it's a creature, you turn the card face up. If it's a creature, you lose life equal to its mana value, and then you may put the exile card from the onto the battlefield. If it's a creature, if you don't, you put it into your hand. So this has 2 modes. It is on its own. If you target a creature, it is a reanimate, but it's demonic tutor reanimate over 3 turns. If you target a creature, right? That's pretty good. If not, it is just a slow tutor. It just gets a card, puts it in your hand. This card could be really good. However, I'm scared because what if you search your library for that Atraxa, you flip Atraxa face up, that's you playing. I'm your opponent. I'm playing blue-white control. I let you flip Atraxa face up, you lose 7 life. And now I see, oh, he's going to get an Atraxa next turn. So what do? I tap 2 mana and cast Get Lost and destroy this thing. You literally just exile an Atraxa from your deck and lost 7 life for absolutely nothing, for no gain, for no benefit, and you waited 2 turns. So you paid 3 mana and waited a turn to deal yourself 7 damage and remove one of your win cons from your deck because I had the removal spell for this enchantment. And that's the problem with sagas that do this kind of effect. It's very foreseeable, right? It's very, very foreseeable. I think this saga would be way more broken if instead of the second chapter dealing damage, the second chapter put the card onto the battlefield, and then the third chapter dealt twice the mana value of damage to you. That would be way more broken, because then you can somehow play around it and remove it yourself, right? But this right now, if I lay there binding it, if I get lost it, if I bounce it with Teferi, it just means you've wasted a card in your deck and lost a bunch of life. And I get 3 turns to prepare this, to prepare my answer to it. I think it's too slow, but it could see play. Because, I don't know, worst case, it's a cool way to cheat a creature in without having to use the graveyard. So, we'll see how good this is. Dreadmobile. 3 mana, sacrifice another creature, put a plus color counter on it, crew 1. Unplayable. Dream Drinker Vampire. Creature Vampire, lifelink. Adapt 1. Whenever a counter is put on it, it gains menace in terms of return. Unplayable. Dross Claw. Living Weapon. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever equipped creature attacks, each opponent loses 1 life. Not playable, but Living Weapon is always very interesting because of Stoneforge Mystic, but I don't think it's playable. Emperor of Bones. I've heard good things about this card. At the beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard, and then adapt 2. When one or more cards are put on Emperor of Bones, put a card exiled with Emperor of Bones onto the battlefield under your control with a finality counter on it. It gains haste, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. So it exiles a card from a graveyard at the beginning of combat, so every turn it does this. And then whenever it gets a counter, you may return a creature. Oh, that's actually pretty sweet. Obviously, it's with a finality counter, which means it will exile after getting removed, and it sacrifices itself, so you don't get permanent value out of this. But yikes. Imagine turn 2, the reanimated deck puts Atraxa in the graveyard for next turn. Turn 3, Emperor of Bones. For 1 mana, somehow I put a counter on it. It triggers. I exile your Atraxa, get it back with haste. I get Atraxa's trigger, hit you for 7 lifelink, and then your Atraxa is gone for good. This card could be really good. This card could be really, really, really good in Timeless, I think. I think this card could be good. So yeah, next. Etched Slith. 2 mana, menace. When Etched Slith deals combat damage to the player, put +1/+1 counter on it. When you do, you may remove a counter from another target permanent or opponent. You could remove energy from your opponents, or remove loyalty from planeswalkers, or remove finality counters. I don't know, man. I think this isn't playable in Timeless, but we might see a deck that uses this somehow. I don't know. Like, removing a counter from a Chalice of the Void could be good. There's so many counters that there's probably a world where this is okay, but it is also just a 2 mana 1/1 with menace, so it might not be good enough, so we'll see. Ethereum Pteramander. So, Ethereum Pteramander can block only creatures with flying. Adapt 4, this ability costs 1 less for each artifact. This is an homage to the blue Pteramander that has adapt for 8 mana, but it costs 1 less for each instant sorcery in your graveyard. And then you put counters on it. So it's basically a 1 mana 1/1 with flying, and then later on it can become a 1 mana 5/5. If you have more artifacts, you can do this faster. I think the other Pteramander is better, but this one could see play. I don't know. I mean, for some reason they're pushing black artifact creatures, so they want affinity to go towards black, which is very interesting in my opinion. But we'll see. Anyway. This Creator's Insight. 2 mana. As an additional spell, sacrifice artifact or creature, draw 2 cards, flashback. So I think this is not playable in Timeless. It's not Deadly Dispute, and Deadly Dispute isn't playable in Timeless. Deadly Dispute is good because it creates a treasure token. This one doesn't do that. It has flashback, which is okay, but I don't think that's good. I don't think it's playable. Anyway, Fetid Gargantua. Creature horror. Adapt 2 whenever 1 or more counters are put on it. You may draw 2 cards. If you do, you lose 2 life. 5 mana, unplayable. Okay, the Black Flare, Flare of Malice. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the greatest mana value among creatures or planeswalkers they control. The cool thing about Flare of Malice is that when you use its sacrifice cost, you lose a creature, but they also lose a creature, right? So in a way, it's like a two-sided edict. But you sacrifice your worst creature, or the creature you wanted to sacrifice, like a Citrus Supply or a Bloodghast, and they have to sacrifice their Teferi Hero of Dominaria. So I feel like this card could be really good. Not a 4 of, but could be good in a black creature decks, right? Alright, Grave Dig. Choose one. Target player creates a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. Entwine 2. So if you pay 2 more mana, you can. If you pay 4 mana, you get both. Too slow, not playable, and timeless. Grim Servant. Grim Servant. When it enters the battlefield, it has menace, and when it enters the battlefield, it's 4 mana 3/2. It's already unplayable, but whatever. When it enters the battlefield, you search the library for a card with mana value less than or equal to your devotion to black. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. You lose 3 life. It's too slow. It's 4 mana. It's too slow, but cool effect. Kami of Jealous Thirst. Death Touch, 3 mana, 1/3. Yikes. 4. Nah, it's unplayable. Wait. Each opponent loses 2 and you gain 2. It's a free ability if you've drawn 3 or more cards. If this was a 1 mana 1/2 with this text, this would be playable. But it's not. It's a 3 mana 1/3, so it's unplayable. Lethal Throwdown. The additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature, or sacrifice a... What? Or sacrifice a modified creature, okay. Equipment? Oh yeah, we know this. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. If the modified creature was sacrificed, draw a card. So, big trap on Arena. This is gonna ask you to sacrifice creature or modified creature. Or at least, I don't know if Arena will do this, but MTGO will do this. Do not select creature and then sacrifice a modified creature, because I'm pretty for sure this is worded in a way where you have to declare that you are sacrificing a modified creature to get the benefit of sacrificing a modified creature. They should just be worded sacrifice a creature and then say if the sacrificed creature was modified, you do that. But whatever. Yeah, I don't think it's playable. I don't think this is a Bone Shards effect. It's a sorcery too. I don't think this is playable. At least it replaces itself if you sacrifice the modified creature. So if the creature had a counter on it, I don't think it's playable though. Now, Marionette Apprentice. This is a third of a Marionette Master. So fabricate 1 when it enters the battlefield, put +1 counter on it, or create a 1/1 colorless server. When another creature or artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. This card is good because it triggers off of tokens leaving the battlefield. It triggers off you sacrificing treasures. And, like, it triggers off you sacrificing spawn tokens. It triggers off... I think this is a good card. It's an aristocrat effect. Each opponent loses 1 life. I think this might see play. This might just see play. It's a buff blood artist, but you don't gain the life. I think this will see play. I think Marionette Apprentice will see play. Anyway. Mindless Corruption. When Mindless Corruption enters the battlefield, and whenever you draw your 3rd card each turn, amass zombies 3. So amass 3. So it's a 3 mana 3/3, and then that 3/3 grows every turn. It doesn't make an army. It doesn't go wide. It goes tall. It makes 1 big creature. I think it's too slow. Necro Freaky Dominance. Skip your draw step. We've seen that text somewhere. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay any amount of life. If you do draw that many cards, your maximum hand size is 5. If a card or token will be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. This is a nerfed Necropotence. But the problem I have with this card is that even a nerfed Necropotence is still a Necropotence. The decks that want this are the deck that I've been complaining about in Timeless forever. That Necropotence black, that mono black deck with Dark Ritual Necropotence. I hate the deck. It's really annoying. It mulligans to Necropotence Dark Ritual, and now it just got 4 more Necropotences. Obviously, Necrodominance is weaker than Necropotence because it draws the cards, which means it's better with your Shieldred, but worse with your enemy's Shieldred and your enemy's Bowmaster. It makes your hand size 5, which shouldn't be a problem because you can just draw cards. I think this card isn't good for Timeless because it's broken. I think it's broken. I think it's going to see play. It may be not 4 of because we already have Necropotence, but the thing is, having the 5th and 6th Necropotence in your deck is already really good. I think this is going to be a good card. I don't know why they would put this in the game, but whatever, man. They let them cook, I guess. It being legendary is absolutely not a downside. You only wanted 1 Necropotence anyway. I don't even know. I don't know, man. I think this card is so broken, but whatever. Nethergoyf. 1 mana, basically a Tarmogoyf, but it only cares about cards in your graveyard. So it only cares about card types in your graveyard. But it can come back from the graveyard with Escape, but the Escape cost is unique. It's 3 mana, and then any number of other cards, but you have to have 4 or more card types among them to get it back. So basically, Escape 4 cards, but you are allowed to exile your whole graveyard if you want to. Really interesting. But obviously, if you do that, it will be a 0/1. So the idea here is Nethergoyf can be really big, but if you have to escape it, it will come back smaller because you exile card types from your graveyard. Sounds like a good card though. I think this could see play in like an aggressive, like maybe Jund or Golgari strategy, maybe Rakdos. I don't know. Next, Quest of the Necropolis, 1 mana enchantment. Whenever a land enters the battlefield neutral, put a quest count on it. And then for 6 mana, sacrifice it. Put a target creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, but it costs 1 less to cast for each to activate for each quest counter on it. So it's a slowly building up 1 mana. It's a slow reanimate. I think this is okay, but probably not playable in Timeless. Also, by the way, if I didn't mention, Necrodominance and Nethergoyf, these are very playable in Timeless, in my opinion. Refurbished Familiar, 4 mana for a 2/1 affinity for artifacts, costs 1 less for each artifact you control. And flying, when it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. For each opponent who can't, you draw a card. This could see play. Like again, if black aligned affinity becomes a thing, this will definitely see play. So this could be a good Timeless card, in my opinion. Because we have Mishra's Bauble, we have I guess Bonesaw, and we have Mox Amber. Those are all free artifacts, so this can cost 1 mana on turn 1 in theory, but we'll see. Anyway, Retrofitted Transmogrant. 1 mana, 1/1, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield, tapped with 2+1 counters on it. Again, this could actually see play in like an aggressive black aligned artifact deck. This could see play in Timeless. I don't know because that deck doesn't exist yet, but who knows? Could be a thing. Ripples of Undeath. 2 mana for an enchantment. Beginning of your pre-combat main phase. Mill 3 cards. Then you may pay 1 and 3 life. If you do, put a card from among those cards into your hand. So this is kind of like a different take on Sylvan Library. I think this could see play in like a controlling deck. However, 3 life in Timeless is a lot of life to pay because your mana base is hurting you already. So I don't know how good this will be. And you do have to pay the 1 mana, so it's not free. It costs 1. I don't know how good that is. We'll see. It could see play. I'm not sure though. Scurrilous Sentry. 4 mana, 2/3. It's unplayable. I'm not even gonna read its abilities. Actually, I will. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, it connives. That's just not good enough. Ugh. Shield Gengar, that's a Pokemon. Shield Gengar, Sire of Famine. 5 mana, 6/6. Flying Demon, Elder Demon actually. funny enough, this shares a creature type with Uro and Croxa. They're also elders, but they're elder giants, not elder demons. Sacrifice another creature, create a blood token. If you sacrifice an angel this way, create the number of blood token equal to its toughness instead. For 3 hybrid black-white mana, you can sacrifice 6 blood tokens and return each creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Those creatures are vampires in addition to the other types. Look, man, this is a sick commander. This is a really cool Angels and Demons commander. This is not a playable timeless card. Too slow. Just too slow. Big creature, but too slow. Warren Soul Trader. Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, create a treasure token. That is really good. That is really damn good. It's just, it's insane. This is really good. Like, I don't know, like, I think this effect is really good. It's 3 mana, but this is one of those cards where it enters the battlefield and you just win the game because you have some kind of infinite loop combo. I can't think of one right now, but there's definitely a combo where with 1 mana, with the treasure, you somehow gain a life and make another creature and sacrifice that creature and just keep going. It doesn't say non-token creature. It doesn't say once a turn. You can just keep... There's definitely a way to go infinite with this, and this will just win the game. So this is going to be... And it's a goblin too, so it probably can fit into a goblin deck somewhere. This is going to go infinite in some way, shape, or form. Wither and Bloom? What the hell? Isn't there like a Wither Bloom school? Like, what is this? Okay, target creature gets -3/-3 to end of turn. That's not bad. Exile it from your graveyard. Put a +1 sound on target creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Okay, so if this simply just had flashback, this would be better. But it's not horrible. I don't think you'll see play in Timeless though. It's too slow. 2 mana for removal spells is just too slow in Timeless. And then finally we have Wormcoil Larva. For 5 mana you get a 3/3. As Death Touch on Lifelink. When it dies, you create a 1/2 with Death Touch and 2/1 with Lifelink. So it's a core back to Wormcoil Engine. I don't know why it doesn't cost 3 mana though, because it's meant to be half of a Wormcoil Engine, but I suppose it's just too slow for Timeless. It's not gonna see play. That is black. We now move on to red. Red has some interesting cards. So we start off right off the bat spicy with Aether Revolt. So it has Revolt. As long as a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, if a source you control, any source, not a red source, any source would deal non-combat damage to an opponent, or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals damage +2 instead. So right off the bat, you crack a fetch. Your Lightning Bolt now does 5 damage. That's insane. But it's a 4 mana enchantment, so maybe it's too slow for Timeless, but we'll see. It has more text though. Whenever you get 1 or more energy, Aether Revolt deals that much damage to any target. So when you get 1 energy, it deals 1 damage. And you get 2 energy, it deals 2 damage. Now the thing is, it cares about its own revolt abilities. So if you crack a fetch on gain 1 energy, it will deal 3 damage to any target. That is pretty good. So I think Aetheril is a pretty good card if you can make a deck out of it that actually works. I think it costs 1 too many mana to be relevant and Timeless, but we'll see. Next card. This might be the best card we're reviewing today. Amped Raptor. Always hate it when red cards are the best cards, but this card is nuts. So Amped Raptor, fast strike. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy, regardless of where it came from. But then, if you cast it from your hand, you exile cards to the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card by paying an amount of energy equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. That is nuts. It's 2 mana cascade into anything with it and pay energy. Now the thing is, there is no text saying that the exiled cards go back onto your library, right? So, for example, obviously there's the janky idea. In an all-lands deck, if you somehow have a deck with only lands, this will exile your entire deck, which is pretty funny, but that's not what we're doing here. This is going to slot right into a, like, just Jund or Rakdos Hour deck. This could go into Rakdos Burn. I think Rakdos Burn plays this immediately. This can go into Rakdos Burn. It can go into Jund. It can go into any deck that just wants to, it can go into Gruul, it can go into any deck that just wants to win the game quickly. Because you cast this, you get a Lightning Bolt. You cast this, you get a Bowmaster. You cast this, you get a Ragavan. You get a Dragon's Rage Chandler. Even if this hits a Mishra's Bauble, that's still worth it. Because you get the energy, right? I think this card is just going to go into a Lurrus deck because if it's in a Lurrus deck, this is always a 2-for-1. It will always cast a card for free if it's in a Lurrus deck. The only issue is in a deck with cards that cost more energy, you might not be able to cast the card. Also, as I was saying, the cards stay exiled, but that doesn't really matter. That doesn't really matter, right? Because you're just exiling lands in a Lurrus deck. You don't need your lands in a Lurrus deck, right? So, this card is really broken. This card is really good. Us control players are going to have a hard time. This is why I'm saying bring your board wipes, because Swords to Plowshare isn't enough for this, because it's a 2-1 that also costs another spell. So we need temporary lockdown. We need like the cool thing about this card is you have to cast it from hand to get that effect. So if you flash it back off of Valorous, or you reanimate it, or you cast it out of exile because of a Divine Purge, you don't get that effect. But man, this card is broken. This card is really, really good. Next, Ashling, Flame Dancer. You don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. And then Mage Cup, whenever you cast a copy of spell, this is, whenever you cast a copy of spell, if it's the, wait, what? What? Okay, you draw, discard a card. If it's the second time this ability is triggered, instead you deal 2 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. And if it's the third time, you get 4 red mana. This is an Omnath Locus of Creation for spells, and you get to keep mana. I think this could be okay, but I don't think it's good. I don't know. I don't think this is a good card. It's too slow. Like, it costs 4 mana. Like, it's not even good in Storm, because Urbrask would have been way better in Storm, right? I don't know. Anyway. Detectives Phoenix. Bestow 1 red and collect evidence 6. Flying and haste. That's really weird. So enchanted creature has +2/+2 flying and haste. So it's just, yeah, okay, that. And then you may cast Detective Phoenix from your graveyard using its bestow ability. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Probably not gonna see play in Timeless. It's too slow. Eldrazi Linebreaker. So Devoid. It's a colorless spell. Trample. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +X/+O and haste, where X is the number of Eldrazi you control. So on the floor, this is a 4/3 with haste. But then next turn, your next creature gets haste, and so on. There was a card called, I wonder if I can remember its name. It was a red werewolf for 3 that gave a creature haste every turn. So first it had haste, and then all your creatures after that had haste. I don't think this is playable. I think it's a little slow, but if there is an Eldrazi aggro deck, this could be good. Fanged Flames. Fanged Flames deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature would die, just an exile instead. Just a power crept I can't remember that card's name. Scorching Dragonfire, right? I think is what it's called. Yeah, it's a power crept Scorching Dragonfire. I don't think it's a C play because we have Unholy Heat. I don't think exiling is that big of a difference. Flare of Duplication. You may sacrifice a non-token red creature to cast a spell. Copy target instant sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So this card is interesting. It could see play in Storm. It could see play in an interesting, like, I don't know where this will see play, but the cool thing about this is it kind of can, if you're casting a spell and your opponent counters that spell, this can copy the counter spell, because it doesn't say copy target instant sorcery spell you control. So it can copy the counter spell and then counter the counter spell. So this card could be interesting. I don't think it's really good because it needs a lot of setup to work, but it could be cool. Anyway, Frogmere Enforcer, prototype for 3 and a red, 7 mana colorless creature. It does have affinity for artifacts though. It costs 1 less for each artifact. So it can be a 1 mana 2/2 if you have 3 artifacts, I think. And it can be a 0 mana 4/4 if you have 7 artifacts. I don't know how good that is, but we'll see. Okay. Next is Furnace Hellkite. 7 mana for a 5/5, but it has affinity for artifacts. See what I mean? They're kind of making affinity a black-red deck. That's so interesting. I wonder if we'll see Grixis aggro affinity. I'm really intrigued. I wonder if we'll see that. But yeah, it's just a ship and dragon. I don't think this is playable in timeless. Galvanic Discharge, however. Choose target creature or planeswalker, then you gain 3 energy. There was a 1 and a red energy card that does exactly the same thing. This deals damage. You can then pay any number of energy and it deals damage equal to the energy spent. But it was a 2 mana sorcery that did this. This is a 1 mana instant. Like, Temur Energy now has a Tune with Aether, Tune the Narrative, and this card. You can make so much energy now. Like, it's crazy. Like, this is just 1 mana instant energy ritual. Like, just get 3 energy for nothing. Or, I mean, okay, you can't do that because you can't target nothing. You have to target a creature. It's not up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. But the fact that you can just burn out a creature or a planeswalker for exactly as much as you need with your energy is really good. This card is going to see play, I think, for sure. I think there is going to be an energy deck in Timeless. Or multiple energy decks. Or maybe energy is just so good that existing decks just also utilize energy now, right? Who knows, but we'll see. Next, Ghostfire Slice. Devoid, it costs 2 less to cast if an opponent controls a multicolored permanent, so it could be 1 mana. And then it deals 4 damage to any target. I hope Burn doesn't start playing this, because I am not taking 4 damage for owning a Teferi Time Ravela or a Teferi Hero of Dominaria. That's pretty cool. Anyway, Glimpse the Impossible. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. At the beginning of your end step, at the beginning of the next end step, of any of those cards remained exiled, put them into your graveyard, then create a 0/1 spawn. That is an interesting effect for a 3 mana sorcery. I think it's too slow though. 3 mana for this effect is slow. 3 mana for this effect at sorcerer speed is a little slow. Because that means you have to use the cards the same turn, right? Or else they become spawns. The spawns aren't bad, but I think it's a bit too slow. Anyway. Infernal Captor. Exploit. When this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. If it exploits a creature, can control target creature at turn. On top of that permanent, it gains haste until end turn. Too slow for timeless. Too slow. Inventor's Axe. Flash. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. When it when it enters the battlefield, you attach it to a creature you control. A creature gets +2/+0, and it has equip pay 2 energy. I don't think this is playable, but 1 mana, get 2 energy at flash speed, and it attaches to a creature on its own is actually not horrible. Like, if there's a deck that really wants energy, then that's pretty good. I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, Mogmob, 3 mana, 3/3. You can sacrifice it to deal damage, divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. I've seen a lot of people say this is really good with Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Agatha's Soul Cauldron can exile this from your graveyard and put a counter on creatures, and then every creature with a +1/+1 counter on it will have this ability to sacrifice for 3 damage. Yeah, it can probably do that. If you can give this ability to other creatures, that's pretty good. And then it itself is just like okay. I think Goblin Chain Whirler is probably better, but I don't know. I don't play in Timeless maybe. I don't know if you'll see play, but we'll see. Molten Gatekeeper. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Molten Gatekeeper does 1 damage to each opponent. Unearth 1, 2 slow for Timeless. Party Thrasher. Non-creature spells you cast from exile have Convoke. That's interesting. Specifically that you cast from exile. It's a 2 mana 1/4, by the way. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may discard a card. If you do exile the top 2 cards of your library, then choose one of them. You may play that card this turn. So a little bit of selection. Non-creature spells having Convoke is very, very interesting, but specifically from exile, I wonder if that can be abused in some way, shape, or form. Convoke obviously is I don't know. This might be a card. I don't know about Timeless, but this could be a card. We'll see. Phyrexian Ironworks, 3 mana. Whenever you attack, you get 1 energy, and then you can pay 3 energy to create a colorless golem. I think this is too slow, but it could be played. I don't know. I have no idea how good the energy deck will be. Power Balance. This is a callback to Counterbalance. So Power Balance. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may reveal the top card of your library. If you do, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost if the 2 spells have the same mana value. This is probably gonna be a good sideboard card for burn decks or for aggro decks. I don't know for sure though. No idea. I don't know how good this is. Counterbalance is better because you counter the spell if it has the same mana value. This costs the spell for free. No idea. We'll see. Ral and the Implicit Maze. Wait a minute. Oh no, okay, never mind. Forget that train of thought. Ral deals 2 damage to each creature and plays your opponent control. You may discard a card. If you do X on top of 2 cards of your library, you may play those until the end of your next turn. And then when you create a spell, draws a weird token. It's a token with it's a 3 mana 2/2 weird creature with whenever you cast another creature spell, put a ++ count on it. Too slow. Too slow for Timeless. Not playable. Reckless Pyrosurfer. Haste Landfall. Whenever a land is spellfield under your control, Reckless Pyrosurfer gains Battle Cry until end of turn. Whenever a creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Each instance of Battle Cry triggers separately. So you can give it multiple Battle Cries. That's pretty cool, but it has haste too. I don't know, this could see play. It's a 2 mana 2/2 haster. That could see play. I've seen Robber of the Rich see play. This might be better than Robber of the Rich. Like, you rarely exile a good card with Robber of the Rich. This could see play. I think this could see play in Aggro. I don't know. I'm not an Aggro player. I don't know, but it could see play. Anyway, Reiterating Bolt. 2 mana and you can replicate it for 3 energy. It deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. You may copy it as many times as you pay 3 energy. This is just a really bad version of Galvanic Discharge. Just play Galvanic Discharge instead. This card is way better, in my opinion. Anyway, next, Sarpadian Simulacrum. Haste for a 1 mana, 1/1 with haste, and you can sacrifice it for 4. It deals 4 damage to target creature. If that was to any target, this would be playable, but creature, not playable. Too slow. Seed Smash. Split Second, which means you can't do anything in response to this. As long as this spell is on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Okay. So, destroy target artifact or target you get +2/+2 against trample until end of turn. I think the destroying an artifact mode is relevant because they have Split Second. I don't think this card will see play in Timeless, but it could be a cool sideboard card. Who knows? Skittering Precursor. Whenever you sacrifice a non-target permanent, create a spawn. Not playable. Too slow. Skoa, Ember Mage. Goblin Wizard, 6 mana. Moxus. Whenever Skoa Ember Mage enters the battlefield, deals 4 damage to any target. That's pretty good. And then you can Grenadier, discard another card named Skoa Ember Mage, sacrifice 2 mountains. Deals 4 damage to any target. That's pretty dang funny. It's funny because it is like one of the few legendary creatures that is like, if you have another copy of me, you get rewarded. But the additional sacrificing 2 mountains is a little sketch. I think this is not playable. It's too slow. There's no way to cheat it out. It's not playable. It doesn't enable itself, really. I don't know. Smelted. Also, by the way, I know we're 2 hours in, but take my takes with a grain of salt. This is coming from the lens of a control player. Smelted. Okay, so Smelted Charbug. 1 on a red, menace. When Smelted Charbug enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. Whenever Smelted Charbug attacks, you may pay 1. If you do, another target attacking creature gets +1. Too many hoops to jump through. Probably not playable in Timeless. It could see play in that red-black affinity deck I was talking about, but I don't think it'll see play. Anyway, Spawn Gang Commander. Devoid, when you cast this spell, create 3 spawns. Sacrifice an Eldrazi spawn, any Eldrazi. Spawn Gang Commander deals 2 damage to any target. Too slow. That's my verdict. Looks cool, but it's too slow for Timeless. Thriving Skyclaw. When it enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. When it attacks, you may pay 3 energy. If you do, put a personal counter on it. Too slow. Too slow for Timeless. Unstable Amulet. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. And you can pay 2 energy, exile the top card of your library. You may play it until you exile another card with Unstable Amulet. This card is good. It could see play in the artifact deck that I was talking about. It could see play in Jund. It could see play in Arachnos. It could see play in Gruul. It could see play alongside Amped Raptor. This is a good card. I think this card is good. It's like card advantage for non-blue decks, which I always say is a color pie break, but good for you guys. You guys get to play this card. Will it see play in Jeskai Control? Probably not. I don't think it's good enough for Jeskai Control, because in Jeskai Control you just have a Planeswalker that does exactly this. But I think this is a good card overall for the format. Void Pouncer. Devoid, kicker, 2 and a gray. When it was kicked, enters with 2 counters and a trample counter. What? What? Okay, if it was kicked, it enters with 2 plus counters and a trample counter and with haste. So not a haste counter, but it gets haste. Okay, interesting. So if you cast it as for 5 mana, it's a 5 mana 5/2, 5/3 with haste and trample, or it's just a 3 mana, 2 mana 3/1. I don't think that's playable in Timeless. Wheel of Potential. You get 3 energy. Then you may pay X energy. Each player may exile their hand and draw X cards. If X is 7 or more, you may play cards you own exiled this way until the end of your next turn. So this is a wheel, but unfortunately Wizards is scared of the Narset wheel combo, so they now word every wheel they print with may exile their hand. If it forced the opponent to exile their hand, that would be cool, but no, it's a may. So unplayable in Timeless. Like, because it's only for you. It's only for you. Your opponent is just not going to exile their hand. Why would they? You know? Unless you do like X14, then your opponent might go along. But like at that point, like, why? Like, I don't know, man. It's just the fact that it's a May is just so bad. It's a May. Like, and I know why it's a May, because like an aggro deck will just do X equals 0 and make your opponent discard their hand. So that's why it's a May. But man, like Wizards, like just stop printing like these May wheels. I think at that point, a wheel effect with a May shouldn't even, like, what's the point? Just make it so that only you draw cards, in my opinion. But it's whatever. That's just my own rant. Maybe you think it's okay, but I don't. I think it's boring. Anyway, that was Red. We're at 2 hours. Fuck. Well, at 2 hours of recording. There's going to be slight cutouts for you guys to watch, but I've been recording this for 2 hours. We still have green and multicolor to go. So we'll see. Anyway, Basket and Brute Scale. Devoid, adapt 1. Whenever one of my counters are put on it, you may create a spawn. Why may? Why not just create a spawn? That's weird. I think this card's okay. I don't think you'll see play in Timeless, but it's just about there. Birthing Ritual at the beginning of your end. Oh my god, it's Birthing Pod. I can't be asked to read all this, but at the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature, look at the top 7 cards of a library, then you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, you may put a creature card with mana value X or less from among those cards on the battlefield, where X is the plot is 1 plus the sacrifice creature's mana value. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Jesus Christ, what a text box. It's Birthing Pod, but more controlled. You can whiff, but if you whiff, you don't get punished for whiffing. This is going to be just like in Search of Greatness, where it's a 2 mana green enchantment that does nothing because it's just too weird and awkward to set up. So, unplayable. Collective Resistance. Escalate green. Pay this cost for each mode chosen beyond the first. So it's 2 mana, choose 1, 3 mana, choose 2, 4 mana, choose all. Destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, target creature gains hexproof. So it's 2 mana. It's in my opinion a better return to nature, because return to nature exile a card from a graveyard, but I think giving a creature a hexproof and indestructible is more relevant. So it's better because you can escalate it. I think this is a good card. I don't think it'll see play, but it's a good card. Colossal Dreadmask. Equip creature has +6/+6 and has trample. Equip 5 living weapon. Now we're getting into Stoneforge Mystic targets. So this is a horrible Caldra complete, but it is a horrible Caldra complete. So like Stoneforge Mystic will tutor this in a deck that cannot cast it, and it will tap it at Stoneforge Mystic for 2 mana to make a 6/6 trample. That is really, really good. So this is what I'm saying. Stoneforge Mystic stocks are going up for Timeless. Eladamri Corvic Doll. Oh, this is Eladamri. Okay, cool. 3 mana, legendary creature, elf warrior. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. Interesting. And then 1 tap 2 untap creatures you control. Reveal a card from your hand or the top card of your library. If you reveal a creature card this way, put it onto the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. Only during your turn. That's... Wait, what? Wait. Let me get this straight. 1 and a green. Tap Eladamri. Tap 2 Llanowar Elves. Reveal Crater of Behemoth from your hand or top of the library. Put it on the battlefield and win the game for 1 mana? Wait, this is like... Isn't this just broken? I don't think on its own it will see play in Timeless, but I think the fact that it's an elf... Elves in Timeless is already a deck. I think this could see play. It's like a tier 2 to tier 3 deck, but it could see play. I think this card is actually really good. I think this card is really good. Elves doesn't see play at the moment because 1 board weapon there in the Shadow Realm, but this card is really good, and you can hit it off Collected Company as well. Like, yikes, this card is good in my opinion. Eldrazi Repurposer. When you cast a spell... when you cast a spell and when it dies, create a spawn. Meh. I don't think this is playable. Evolution Witness. Adapt 2. When 1 or more counters are put on it, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Unplayable. Too slow. Fanatic of Ronus. 2 mana for a mana dork, but ferocious. Add 4 mana if you have a creature with 4 or greater, and it has Eternalize. This could see play. I don't know where it would see play at the moment, but it could see play. Just keep in mind this could see play. I don't know where, but it could. Fangs of Calonia. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Then double the number of counters on it. On each creature that had a counter put on it this way. Okay. Holy shit, I thought it said each creature. That would have been crazy. It just puts a +1/+1 counter and then doubles, but then it has overload. Okay, I see how it goes. I don't think this is playable at Timeless. Flare of freaking Cultivation. This is... Remember, as I said, Amped Raptor is the best card? This might just be the second best card in the format. Sacrifice a non-token green creature, rather than pay its mana cost, and then you search your library for 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, put 1 onto the battlefield tapped, and the other into your hand. Why do I say this is broken? Because of the Titan Field deck. So for the Titan Field deck, this is turn 1. Basic forest. Or, I don't know, maybe not basic forest, I don't know. But turn 1, basic forest, Arboreal Grazer. Put in a Sunken Citadel. Cast Flare of Cultivation for free, sacrificing a Arboreal Grazer. Search your library for a Snow Forest, and I guess another basic forest. Or, I don't know, maybe a basic mountain or whatever. Put 1 of them onto the battlefield, so 3 mana on turn 2. And then, like... 3 mana on turn 2. Do you know what that means? That means you can play Archdruid's Charm on turn 2. You can play your no, wait, it's 4 mana on turn 2. I'm tripping. It's 4 mana on turn 2. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, no, here's the play pattern. Arboreal Grazer, put in Kami Garden or whatever, that land that enters tapped and makes a 1/1. then you sacrifice a Boreal Grazer to get another land and get a land in hand, so you guaranteed a turn 2 natural order for Titan with 4 lands in play. Yikes. That is broken. That's broken. That is just broken. Flare of Cultivation is gonna see play for sure. This is instantly gonna see play in the Titan field deck. It's really good. Anyway, Flow Strike. What a weird art. Destroy target creature with flying. Reinforce. Discard this card. Put +1 counter on target creature. Okay, unplayable. Gift of the Viper. Play on German there. Gift in German means poison. Put +1 counter and a reach counter and a death touch counter on up to 1 target creature, untap it. Unplayable. I apologize for the motorcycles traveling outside my house again. Horrific Assault. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. If you control an Eldrazi, you gain 3 life. This is a bite effect that costs 1 mana. Still unplayable in Timeless, but insane that they made that they printed that. The Hunger Tide Rises. That's Grist, but okay. First 3 chapters create a black and green insect token. And then 4th chapter has a lot of text. Sacrifice any number of creatures. Search your library and graveyard for a creature card with mana value less than or equal to the number of creatures sacrificed this way. Put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library, search a shuffle. That is pretty good. That's pretty good. I think this is too slow for Timeless, but it could see play. Anyway, Hydro Trainer. You may exert Hydro Trainer as it attacks. When you do, target creature gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of counters on permanents you control, and adapt to. Unplayable. Too slow. Lion Number, enchant modified creature. Target creature gets +2/+3/+3 and has vigilance and reach. Umbra Armor. Unplayable. Also too slow. Like, and when I say unplayable, they might see play, but I don't think they're playable. Malevolent Rumble. Malevolent Shrine. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a permanent from among them into your hand, put the rest of your graveyard, and then you create a spawn. This card is actually not bad. This card isn't bad. It's 2 mana, draw a card, and create a spawn. 2 mana, make a 1/1 cantrip isn't bad. I don't think it'll see play, but it's not horrible. Monstrous Vortex, 4 mana. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 5 or greater, discover X, where X is the spell's mana value. That's pretty cool, but on its own it does nothing. And it only cares about creature spells, but it's an enchantment, so what if I have 2 of these in hand? I don't think this will see play. Too slow. Nightshade Dryad, 2 mana, Death Touch. Add Grey, or add 1 mana of any color. Unplayable. Nyxborn Hydra, you can bestow it for X, or cast it for X. And as well, if you want X counters, enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on Nyxborn Hydra and has reach and trample. Unplayable and Timeless. I mean, you can cast it as a 1 mana 0/1. That's pretty cool, but I think it's unplayable. Path of Annihilation. When Path of Annihilation enters the battlefield, create 2 1 Colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens with sacrifice creature add 1 grave, we know that. And then Eldrazi you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. So your spawns now don't have to sacrifice to make mana. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, you gain 4 life. Create 2 spawns, turn them into mana dorks. I don't think it's good though. I think it's unplayable and Timeless. Primal Prayers. Remember, as I talked way earlier, I talked about something bouncing itself back to hand? Wait, actually, speaking of which, I swear to God there was a blue 1-drop that bounced a creature back to your hand. I didn't see it. I don't think all cards are in this, but it's fine. This is energy, what's the card called? Allurin. So you may cast creature spells uh with mana value 3 or less by paying 1 energy rather than paying the mana cost, and you can cast them with flash. If you can generate energy, by the way, for example, the white 1-drop that makes energy whenever your creature enters the battlefield instantly turns this into infinite creature costs if you have a way to bounce a creature back to your hand. So remember, as I said, there's that artifact that bounces a creature back to your hand. If you have that, a creature that untaps a permanent when it enters the battlefield, and the white 1-drop, this is infinite life. Because you cast it, bounce it, untap the thing that bounces it, cast it again. So this is just a combo card. It will just go off with some creatures. If you have a white creature and a Serarak, the guy that enters a dungeon but bounces himself, if you haven't completed Tomb of Annihilation, you just have that white 1-drop and this, you just cast him until you've gone through the lost well over and over again, which pings your opponent for 1. You just kill them. Like, this is just an infinite creature card. This is what this is for. It can see play in Timeless. I think there might be a deck that builds around this and tries to win with this in Timeless. Propagator Drone, creature tokens you control have Evolve. What's Evolve? Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it has greater power or toughness, you put a +1 counter on this creature. Okay, cool. Creature tokens have Evolve. So this makes your spawns bigger. I don't think it's playable. It's 2 mana 2/2, but I think it's still unplayable. It's too slow. Signature Slam. It's banned together. So you put a counter on target creature, and then each modified creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Unplayable. Way too slow. We got 6, which is the tree from Ren and 6. When 6 attacks, mill 3 cards. You may put a land card from among them into your hand. As long as it's your turn, non-land permanents cards in your graveyard have retrace. So that means you can cast permanents from your graveyard by discarding a land. It doesn't say anything about you can only do this once a turn, but interesting. I think that's okay, but I don't think it's... There might be a deck that builds around this, or it might be a one-off in some kind of value-y green deck, but I don't know if it's playable. It's like medium. Anyway, sowing Microspawn. 4 mana devoid as kicker. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. When you cast spell, if it was kicked, you exile target land. So if you pay for 6 mana, you're exiling a land, and you are getting any land from your deck. Getting any land is pretty powerful. I think this one could see play in Timeless, in theory. If we get more support for Eldrazi's, it will see play in Timeless. Spring Out Natuko has Bestow, probably unplayable. Landfall, when land enters the battlefield under control, you may pay mana if it's attached to a creature. If it's attached to a creature, you can pay mana when a land enters the battlefield. If you do, you create a token that's a copy of that creature. If you didn't create a token this way, you create a 1/1 green insect. So if it's attached to a creature, you create a copy that's the creature. If it's not attached to a creature, you create a 1/1 insect. Oh lord, how do I evaluate this card? I don't think it'll see play. I think it's too slow. Temperamental Ooze Wag. It's a Brushwag that's also an ooze. Adapt. 3 mana 4/4. Modify creature you control have trample. Too slow and timeless. Not playable. Territory Color. Devoid reach landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. If you don't put that card into your hand, you may put it into your graveyard. 5 mana 7/5 with that ability is probably too slow for Timeless unless we get serious support for colorless spells. Thew of Existence, this one I think is pretty good. When it enters battlefield, when you cast it, exile up to 1 target non-creature, non-land permanent, and opponent controls a mana value 4 or less. If you do, it gains. When this creature leaves the battlefield, target opponent draws a card. So it's like a Thought-Knot Seer, but it attacks the board and not the hand. But it can't exile creatures, which is a bit sad. But it does exile Planeswalker, so I hate this against my Planeswalker decks. It can exile the One Ring, it can exile Necropotence, it can exile Teferi. Pretty good card, I think. Obviously, the problem with these cards is you can't just put them into your deck. You need to be able to cast them. You need a colorless mana source. So we'll see how good that is, but I think this card's okay. I don't think it's amazing, but it probably is okay. Trickster Elk. Isn't this Oko? 3 mana, bestow. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is an elk, or you can have it as an elk. Unplayable, it's too slow. Next. Wumpus Aberration. Devoid. When you cast this spell, if Gray wasn't spent to cast, a target opponent would put a creature card from their hand onto the battlefield. Yikes. Okay, interesting. So it's just a 4-mana 6/6, but you should probably use Gray to cast it. Nah, not playable in Timeless. Anyway, that's green. We're now over 2 hours. Let's go into Colorless. Alright. Colorless probably is a bit better than the colored spells, but we'll see. Obtruse Aberration. It's devoid, but you exile target non-permanent. You may cast a card from as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend colorless mana as though mana was of any color. So if you have colorless mana, you can basically cast any spell, or you have to just pay the colors correctly. It exiles any non-land permanent, which is actually pretty good. This could see play as a one-off in like a Esper control deck. I've not shown you guys an Esper control deck on the channel, so we might build one. But I don't know if I want to craft this card, but who knows. Arna Kennerud Sky Captain. 5 mana for a 4/4 flying lifelink ward. Discard a card. Whenever a modified creature you control attacks, double the number of each counters on it. Then for each non-token permanent attached to it, create a token that's a copy of that permanent attached to that creature. Pretty cool commander, not playable in Timeless though. But this is a really cool commander, I won't lie. Like if I could build a commander deck, I think I would build one around her. Anyway. Conduit Goblin. 1 and a red. Red and white, sorry. When Conduit Goblin enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay energy. If you do, target creature you control gains haste and +1/+0. This could see play in Boros aggro, but I don't think it will. Cranial Ram. Now this one is wild. Living Weapon. Equipped creature gets +X+1, where X is the number of artifacts you control, and there's living weapons. Now this is another big Stoneforge Mystic target, and this is insane in that red-black affinity deck I was talking about. This card could see play in Timeless. Cursed Wombat, black and green. Permanents you control have whenever one or more counters are put on this permanent, put an additional counter on it. This ability triggers only once. Unplayable in Timeless, too slow. There already is hardened scale, so why would I play a 2 mana 2/3 like that does that exact effect, but only once a turn? Really weird. Cyclops Superconductor. Prowess. Whenever it enters above you get 3 energy. When it dies, you may pay 3 energy. If you do, it deals damage to its power to any target. Too slow, not playable. Emissary of Soulfire. When Emissary of Soulfire enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. You can pay 2 energy at any time. Put an Exalt counter on target creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery, not at any time, man. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets... Wait, what? Exalted counter, so it gets exalted. Okay. I don't think it's playable in Timeless, it's too slow. Expanding Ooze, adapt. When Expanding Ooze attacks, put a plus card on target modified creature you control. No, too slow, not gonna see play. Faithful Watchdog Vigilance enters the battlefield with 3 counters on it. Too slow, but cool card for hardened scales. This would be a great card in Explorer, but not in Timeless, too slow. Genku, the Future Shaper. Whenever another non-token permanent you control leaves the battlefield, choose one that has been chosen this turn. Create a creature token with... What? Create a creature token with these characteristics. That's such a weird wording. 2/2 white fox with vigilance, 1/2 blue moonfalk with flying, or 1/1 black rat with lifelink. This is so interesting because in Timeless this is garbage. This is not playable in Timeless at all. But in Commander, this is not a black commander. Even though reference is black, there's no symbol, so it doesn't have a black identity. That's so interesting. Anyway, not playable in Timeless. Way too slow. Golden Tail Trainer. Aura and equipment spells you cast cost X as the cost, where X is its power. When it attacks, other modified creatures get +X, where X is its power. Too slow. 3 mana for that is too slow. Horrid, Shadow Spinner. don't forget, in Timeless, Show and Tell wins the game on turn 3. You can't be casting a 3 mana 1/3. That's just not playable. Just saying. Like, that's why I always say unplayable. Like, it's unplayable, my guy. It's too slow. This is a Modern Horizons set, dude. These cards aren't even legal in Explorer, in Pioneer. Like, what? Horrid Shadow Spinner. Lifelink, when it attacks, you may draw cards equal to its power. If you do, discard that many cards. Again, too slow. Imskir Iron Eater. So, this is 6 and black-red, but it has affinity for artifacts. So again, in that black-red artifact deck, when it enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and lose X life for X half the number of artifacts you control. Okay. So 3 if you have it, if you cast it for full affinity. Sacrifice an artifact, it deals damage equal to its mana value to any target. That could be good. I don't know how good this card is. It might see play if the affinity deck becomes a thing. Invert Polarity. This spell is insane. I think this spell is the 3rd best card in the set. Apart from the special guests, but this card is really good. Choose target spell, flip a coin. If you win the flip, you gain control of the spell. If you lose the flip, you counter the spell. Now, obviously, it's a 50-50, so it's random, so it's not always good. But if you do gain control of the spell, that's Commandeer. And if you don't gain control of the spell, it at least just gets countered, so it's fine. The only issue is when that 50-50 is bad for you. If you counter a Thalia or a Blood Moon and it 50-50s in your favor and you get to gain control of it, you did nothing. You have a Blood Moon now. It doesn't matter, right? If you do the Chalice of the Void, it doesn't matter, right? So you don't want to counter symmetrical effects with this. You want to counter effects that will put your opponent ahead. But if you like counter a Dig Through Time and you just countered it, that's worth. Don't counter Show and Tell with this. It's not worth it. Trust me. But like a Dig Through Time, for example, you can gain control of that. That's really good, right? So we'll see. We'll see how good this is. But I think this is a good card. It's just like you gotta know it's not a 4-of, it's a 2-of or something. You gotta know when you want to use it. Anyway, is it Generatorium? If you could get energy, you get that many energy +1. You can draw a card, activate only if you've paid or lost 4 more energy this turn. Too slow. An energy enabler, probably too slow. I can't say, but I don't think this is fast enough. Oh, Kudo reprint, King Amongst Bears. No, is this a reprint or is this a thing? Just a new card. Anyway, other creatures have base power and toughness 2/2 and are bears in addition to the other types. Everything is a bear. Your immediate massacre for 2 is looking juicy, but I don't think this is good in Timeless. Now do Winged Wisdom. Creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes target of a spell or ability, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn. So now the thing with this card is that in Timeless, in theory, this is too slow. However, if you have a way of comboing off and if there's a card that can equip for 0, for example, or can target something for 0 mana, you can just keep targeting creatures. If you somehow can make new creatures, you can just keep drawing your entire deck, putting all lands onto the battlefield. If it's a land, it just enters the battlefield, not tapped. It just enters the battlefield, right? So this is a really interesting card. I think this wouldn't see play in current Timeless, but this could cause an entire deck to be built around it. So we'll see. The Necrobloom, landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, you create a green plant. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, you make a 2/2 black zombie instead. This is Field of the Dead on a creature. I don't think this is C play though. I think this is and land cards and graveyards have dredge too, so you can return instead of whenever you would draw a card, you can instead mill 2 cards and return that card from your graveyard to your hand. It could see play. I don't think it will. It's a little slow, but this could be a good like finisher for like this card would be good against control, but the thing is, Swords to Plowshares just kills it. That's the problem, right? The reason why Field of Ruin is so good against control is because it's a land. You can't interact with it. Anyway, Obstinate Gargoyle. 3 mana, or resolve. It has flying as long as it's modified, and it has persist. When it dies, if it had no -1/- counters, return it to the battlefield with a -1/- counter on it. I don't know how good this will be. I think it's too slow. Undercore Knotmaster. This is with two. It has an adventure, obviously. This is with two counters among two target creatures, and it is a 4-mana 2/2 with life. Whenever a modified creature control dies, put a +1 counter on it. Too slow. Sorry for rapping, by the way. Sorry for speaking so fast. It's just I'm trying to get through this. We're already more than 2 hours of recording. Flash, Titans of Fire's Fury. Uro and Croxa get a new sibling. So, when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you deal 3. You lightning helix, deal 3 damage to any target, and gain 3 life. And it has escape for red, white. Exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. So it's just an Uro or Croxa, but it lightning helixes. On that note, I think Uro is still much better. This is on the level of Croxa. This could be good because it doesn't draw a card. It's not a late game card advantage engine, but it does kill a creature. This is the first one of the times that actually affects the board, right? It kills a creature and gains 3 life. And worst case, it can go face. And it erases really well because you gain 3 life every turn. So this card could see play as a sideboard card in burn, or it could see if I get it in a pack. I'm not gonna craft it, but if I get it in a pack, I'll put it in a Jeskai deck. Okay, I will do it. Fine. Next, we got Planar Genesis. This is a power crept growth spiral. So instant speed. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. If you don't, put a card from among them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This, unfortunately, growth spiral isn't fast enough for Timeless, but its impulse and growth spiral in 1 card. I think this could see play in the show and tell deck, but I don't think it will. But it could in theory. Then we have Psychic Fog, which is a homage to Psychotog. When it deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card, which is pretty good. You can discard a card to put a +1 counter on it. You can exile 3 cards from your graveyard, and it gains flying at the end of turn. Interesting card. This is a cool Dimir Tempo card. I wonder if it will see play. I think it will, though. I think it will. This creature, 2 mana, 1/2, doesn't die to Bonemaster, can gain flying to fly over creatures and draws cards when it hits. This could be a good card in Timeless. But not in Control. It would be a Tempo deck. It would be an aggro or Tempo deck. Pyretic Rebirth. Return target artifact or creature card from your graveyard to your hand. It deals damage equal to the card's mana value to target creature or planeswalker. Too slow. Riddlegate Gargoyle. Enters battlefield, you gain 3 energy. When you attack, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, target creature you control gains lifelink. Not playable. Not impactful enough for Timeless. Roshin Roaring Prophet. When it enters the battlefield, you mill 6 cards and put a card with X in its mana cost from among them into your hand. Reveal any number of cards with X in the mana cost in your hand. Add gray for each card revealed this way. You can only spend this mana to cast on costs that contain X. Too slow for Timeless, for sure. Scurry of Gremlins. 4-mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 red gremlin creature tokens. Then you get an amount of energy equal to the number of creatures you control, and then you can pay 4 energy for creatures to get haste and +1 so. Probably too slow for Timeless, though. Snapping Voidcraw. Devoid, add 2 gray, or 3 and attack a gray, draw a card. Too slow for Timeless. Sneaky Snacker. Cool name. When you draw your 3rd card in a turn, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Brainstorm, anyone? So this could be your card. You could discard it for value and then brainstorm, get it back. Could be pretty good. It could see play in Timeless. I'm not sure, but it could. Titan's Vanguard. Through 5 mana. When you cast this spell, and whenever it attacks, put +1 counter on each colorless creature you control. Too slow for Timeless. Right, White of the Reliquary, which is a callback to Knight of the Reliquary. Vigilance, and then White gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. And you can sacrifice another creature to search your library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. That's pretty cool. That's a cool effect. It could see play in Timeless. There could be I would love to see like a black-green lower to the ground Field of the Dead deck. I wouldn't actually love to play against it, but I'd love to see it. That would be a cool card in that deck. So this could see play. Writhing Chrysalis? Chrysalis? 4 mana, devoid. When you cast this spell, create 2 spawns. Reach. Whenever you sacrifice another Eldrazi, put a +1 card on it. 2 slow for timeless. Disruptor Flute. This is a frick, what's that card called? I don't remember, but basically, uh when it enters the battle, it has flash, and when it enters the battlefield, you choose a card name. Spells with a chosen name cost 3 more to cast, and activate abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So you can cast it in response to a One Ring and prevent them from tapping the One Ring, which is cool. Same goes for Planeswalkers, and for some reason though, oh well, not for some reason. I guess you can also just name a card that doesn't have activated abilities and make it cost more to cast. Like if I flash this in on end step against the show and tell player, they can't show and tell unless they pay 5 mana for it, right? So this card could definitely see play. Probably more of a sideboard card, but because of its like utility, you could play in the main deck of, like, for example, an artifact deck. Who knows? Pretty good stuff. Also, I forgot we're apparently done with multicolor cards. These are colorless again. Weird. Anyway, Idol of False Gods. Whenever another Eldrazi you control dies, put +1 counter on Idol. As long as Idol of False Gods has 8 or more +1 counters on it, it's a 0/0 creature in addition. Oh my god. And it has Annihilator too. And then it has tap to create a spawn. Okay. 2 mana is cool though. But I think it's too slow. But it's a cool card. Solar Transformer. Enters the battlefield tapped. Sorry. Enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. And it's a mana rock. And you can also pay an energy to add 1 mana of any color. 2 mana mana rock. Not going to see play in normal decks and timeless, but could see play in the artifact storm deck. Then Vexing Bauble. Players can't. Whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. We need this because we're going to get a lot of free spells with this Modern Horizons. But I don't think it's going to see instant main deck play. But good card. And you can sacrifice to draw a card. Then Winter Moon. This card is pretty good. Players can't tap more than 1 non-basic land during their untap step. This is Blood Moon for 2 mana, basically. But at least you get to untap 1. So if you're a Leyline Binding mana base, you're able to Leyline Binding this, because it doesn't change your lands, it only makes them not on tap. Anyway, Archway of these are the archways. Actually only 2. We've seen all the archways. I don't know why I'm only wait. Oh yeah, okay, they're down. No. Oh, never mind. They're not all archways. Oh no, archway and arena, sorry. This is the cycle of lands that they check whether you have a basic land type of their color, and if you do, they enter untapped. So the blue one enters untapped if you have an island, adds 1 blue, and then you can tap it for 1 blue, so play 2 lands, and then the next spell you cast this turn has improvise. So you can tap artifacts to cast its gray mana, which is pretty cool. I don't think it's going to see much play because improvise, it will see play in artifact decks, I suppose, but artifact decks already have affinity and improvise on their cards, so I don't know where this will see play. But improvising out a 1 ring sounds pretty cool. Arena of Glory, same text, but you can tap it for 1 red to add 2 red. To exert it and add 2 red. So it doesn't untap, you add 2 red. If this mana was spent to cast a creature spell, that creature spell gains haste. So I like that it makes 2 red, so you can give 2 creatures haste in 1 turn if you need to. Pretty cool. You can exert it on turn 2 to give, I don't know, maybe a Ragavan and a Dragon's Rage Channeler haste. I don't know if that's good. I don't know, man. Exerting it sounds a bit bad. Anyway, but let's say Maya. This is just a fetch land. Then we have very interesting lands here. Very interesting cheap fetch lands. They add a gray. They can cycle for their wedge, and then you can sacrifice them to search for their wedge. Very interesting because they enter untapped. I think these cards are actually really good. They're power crept version. All 5 of these are power crept versions of Evolving Wilds, right? I think these are actually all pretty good. These are all pretty good, but they're not going to see play in Timeless, because in Timeless we just have the real fetch lands, right? Anyway, the white check land. you obviously enter untapped if you control planes, but then look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal a historic card, so the One Ring, Planeswalkers, legendary permanents, artifacts, and sagas are historic. So, yeah, Planeswalkers are historic, the One Ring is historic, and obviously legendary lands or whatever are historic. This could see play in control, in theory. If we didn't have to run Mystic Sanctuary, this would see play. But yeah, so Monumental Henge, this could see play in control decks because it can get all your legendary permanents. It's basically if they do nothing, you tap this on their end step and you draw a card. So that's pretty cool. But we'll see. Again, Mystic Sanctuary is just so warping that you need to play it, but we'll see. Anyway, more fetch lands, more wedge lands. Shifting Woods is really interesting. So Shifting Woods is the green check land and has Delirium. Without tapping it, you pay 4 and it becomes a copy of target permanent card in your graveyard until end of turn. Now, the thing is, if you mill an Omniscience or put an Omniscience in your graveyard, you can copy Omniscience until end of turn and just go off. This, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, is a really cool alternate win condition for Show and Tell. Show and Tell already is green, and this ability basically costs 3 because you can tap the woods to pay for its cost, right? So if they're able to discard Omniscience, it doesn't work with Atraxa because the land is already in play, so it's not going to trigger, but Omniscience with this is really good. So I think this card is really, really good and interesting. We'll see how good this is, how well this plays. Anyway, Snow-Covered Wastes, and this is the black check land. So, tap 1 in the black, target creature you control connives X, where X is the number of creatures that died this turn. I don't think this one's good. It requires creatures to die that turn. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, more wedge lands, and then we get Ugin's Labyrinth. Imprint, when it enters the battlefield, you may exile a card with mana value 7 or greater. If you do, it has add 2 mana. Untapped land that adds 2 mana as long as you go down a card as you're casting it. But it also has tap to return the card to your hand. So in the late game, you can just get that card back if you want to. I think Ugin's Labyrinth is broken. It's a soul land. It's just an ancient tune that doesn't cost you 2 life to deal damage, to tap for mana. You just need the card. You need to have a colorless card with mana value 7 or greater. And this is what I was saying. This is that support. It's not legendary either. So this is that support for Eldrazi's that we need to make Eldrazi's viable. Anyway, Urza's Cave, another Urza's land. You can sacrifice it to search the library for any land card and put that card onto the battlefield tapped. This is going to be played in older formats. I don't think it will see play in Timeless. You got more fetches. And now you have the flip walkers. Or flip cards in general. So this is Ajani, Nakada Pariah. It's a 2 mana 1/2. Enters the battlefield, creates a 2/1. And whenever one or more other cats you control die, you may exile it and return him to the battlefield. So if your token somehow dies, you may transform him, and he transforms into a giant Nakadal Avenger. Put a plus on enters with 3 loyalty. Put a plus on counter on each cat you control. Create a 2/1, and then when you do, if you control a red permanent other than a Ajani, he deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to any target. And then for -4, so by the way, the turn after you transform him, you get this. Each opponent chooses an artifact, creature, and enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, then sacrifices the rest. This effect isn't as broken because it doesn't make them sacrifice lands, but it's still a good effect. So in a Cats deck, this is a really good card, but I think it's not going to see play outside of a cat deck because it cares too much specifically about cats. So we got Razorgrass Ambush. It's just 2 mana, deals 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature, and on the back, it's a land that can enter untapped for 3 life. I think this card is really good. Again, we have Mystic Sanctuary, but we might make a deck that doesn't play Sanctuary so that it can run these cool tech lands, because tech lands are always good. Ajani, by the way, about seeing play in Timeless again. Ugin's Labyrinth definitely will, and then Ajani will probably see play in Timeless, I think, but it's again not great in a non-cat deck. Razorgrass Ambush will see play in Timeless. It's a good card. It deals 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. It can kill an attacking Dragon's Witch channel. It can kill a Ragavan, a Bowmaster. It doesn't kill big creatures, but still, it's like, in the worst case, it's a tapped land or an untapped land if you need it untapped, right? It's just, I think this is a good card. Like, you can go down on lands in your deck because you have this in your deck. Like, that's why it's good. Anyway, Witch Enchanter. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. 4 mana is a bit much for this effect. However, again, it's an untapped land if you need it. So this one isn't as good as Razorgrass Ambush in my opinion, but the fact that they enter untapped is really good. Anyway, next, Hydroelectric Specimen. When it enters the battlefield, it has flash, but when it enters, you may change the target of target instant or sorcery spell with a single target to Hydroelectric Specimen. I don't think this will see play in like Control, but it's funny that you can for 3 mana redirect a lightning bolt from your face to this thing. It's weird, but I think there's a rules thing where obviously the target to target this thing, it has to be a legal target for that spell. So you can't make your opponent thought seize this creature. That's not how it works. It can only redirect a spell that is allowed to target it, right? So that's cool. But then also, it's just an untapped land if you don't need it, right? I think this one isn't as good as the next one, but we'll talk about the next one now. The next one is Sink into Stupor. 3 mana, return target spell or non-opponent to an opponent controls to its owner's hand. This card is amazing in, like, for example, the High Noon deck I just played, right? It makes it, obviously, returning a spell to an opponent's hand just means they can cast it again. But returning the spell is like, if I have High Noon, you can't cast it again. And in the worst case, it's just a land. And it can enter untapped. I think this is really, really good. I think these lands that enter untapped but also are spells, the last time we got an effect like this was in Zendikar. We got really expensive spells that can enter as untapped lands for 3 life. These spells are way more castable and way more relevant, and they enter untapped. Like, obviously, there's a good one and a bad one, in my opinion. This is the good one, this is the bad one, this is the bad one, this is the good one. But man, another card I really want to play and build around is Tamiyo. So Tamiyo, 1 mana, 0/3, blocks Ragavan, blocks Dragon's Witch Channel when it's not delirious, blocks Bowmaster, blocks well, and it flies too. When it attacks, investigate. So obviously attacking with 0 power doesn't deal damage, but you get value out of this thing. You just start attacking. If they're not playing anything, you attack with this. I think this will definitely see play in Control. And worst case, you can sacrifice it to Flare of Denial. So I think this is good. But then when you draw your 3rd card in a turn, exile it and return it to the battlefield. Brainstorm. You cast this, you brainstorm, you get a Planeswalker. And she says until your next turn, whenever a creature attacks you or Planeswalker you control, it gets -1/-0. It's a +2, so she goes up to 4 loyalty instantly. That's really good. So you plus her, she can't get bolted anymore. And then return target instant sorcery spell a card from your graveyard to your hand. If it's a green card, add 1 mana of any color. The second phrase where it's a green card, probably not going to happen. But being able to plus her and then return a counterspell or return a swords or return a board wipe is so good. Like, you underestimate how good that is. Like, obviously it only returns instant sorcery cards, but still, that's really good. This is one of the reasons why we won't need Mystic Sanctuary anymore, because you can just get cards back, right? And then -7 if you ever get to it. No, I don't think you'll ever get to this, but if you do, draw cards equal to half the number of cards in your library, and you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Like, I think this is really good. I think this Tamiyo is going to see... I'm going to play her, so obviously she's going to see play, right? So I'll craft my 4 Solitudes, and then I'll see whatever wildcards I have left. I'll try and craft some Tamiyos and see if she's good. But man, I love this card. Anyway, we get the black Bolt land. It is, when it enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. 3 mana for a 3/1. Obviously, Bojuka Bog is probably better than this, but it's a creature. It's not nothing. And it's a land if you need it to be. And it can enter untapped. And then this one, Fell the Profane, destroy target creature or planeswalker, or it's an untapped land. I think this is just so good. It's 4 mana, yeah, of course, it's expensive, but the fact that it can be an untapped land, I think Fell the Profane and Sink into Stupor are going to be so good. I think they're going to be really good. All stars. Maybe I'm just wrong, but I think in Timeless, these cards are going to be amazing. Anyway, we got Sovereign of House Markov. Lifelink and Extort. When you cast a spell, you can pay white or black, and if you do, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain that much life. More relevant in Commander, but in 1v1 you just gain 1 life, right? At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, exile Sorin, then return to the battlefield transformed. So Sorin becomes Sorin Ravenous Neopet? Wait, what? I actually don't know what it says. I genuinely don't know what it says because his head is covering it. Hold on, let me read. Neonate. Okay, cool. So he still has Extort. You can create a food token, which is an artifact that says 2 mana to gain 3 life. Deals damage equal to the amount of life you gain this turn to any target. So now the thing is, in a life gain deck, if you can gain 20 life in a turn, you just kill your opponent, which is pretty funny. I don't think that's gonna ever really happen, but it's a funny thing you can do. Also, worst case, you can Lightning Helix an opponent if you after eating a food token. Like, that's literal Lightning Helix. You gain 3 life with the food, and then you minus Sorin and deal damage. And then -6, which you get in 2 turns. You can gain control of target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. Put a lifelink counter on it if you control a white permanent other than Sorin. So if you control a white permanent, you put a lifelink counter on that creature. I think this Sorin is going to see play in. People are going to try it at least in life gain decks. I think there is going to be a life gain deck in Timeless that's going to be like at least tier 2. We'll see though. Anyway, the red flip cards, we got Pinnacle Monk. 5 mana prowess. When it enters the battlefield, return to instant sorcery. This is a little slow, but in the end, it's also just a land, so that's pretty good, I guess. We got Ral, Monsoon Mage, but let me read Sundering Eruption first, because Ral's going to take a long time. So, you destroy a land. It's controlled by special library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Creatures without flying can't block this turn. That text is flavor, but whatever. This is pretty cool, because it's an untapped land that can also destroy a land that you don't like, right? They have a Field of the Dead. Too bad they don't anymore. Like, good effect. This could see play in Jeskai, in Jeskai control without Mystic Sanctuary. You just have a land that can blow up a problematic land of your opponents. I think that's playable. Anyway, Ral Monsoon Mage. Instant sorcery costs 1 less to cast, so Goblin and Necromancer. And then whenever you cast an instant sorcery, during your turn, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, it deals 1 damage to you. If you win the flip, you may exile him. If you do, return him to the battlefield under your transform into your control. So 50-50 to take damage or to flip him, which is interesting. So if you cast 4 spells, you are very likely to flip him, right? And you get to choose, it's a really interesting timing though, because you can choose to flip him or not. Because sometimes you won't want to flip him because of his text here. He enters with 2 loyalty, but Ral Leyline Prodigy enters with the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on him for each spell you've cast this turn. Enters with additional loyalty for each spell you've cast this turn, so he can go up to 8 loyalty in theory, and his +1 is until your next turn. It's always costs 1 less to cast, so you get to keep the Electromancer effect. 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Draw a card if you control a permanent, a blue permanent other than Ral. So -2 to like kill something and draw a card maybe, and then 8 exile the top 8 cards of a library. You may cast instant sorcery spells from among them this turn without paying their mana cost. This could be a Storm card. I don't know if we're gonna see Storm, like maybe Grixis Storm that just tries to win with tendrils by casting Dark Rituals and stuff. But for that to be real, we do need the red rituals. We don't have them in Timeless at the moment, so I don't know how good Ral will be. I think the best flip Planeswalkers are going to be Tamio and Grist, which we're going to see in a minute, and I think maybe Sorin, but we'll see. Anyway, green. Bridgeworks Battle. We're approaching 3 hours, by the way. Bridgeworks Battle. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Again, like, not a very playable effect, but it's a land, so that's good. Disciple of Frailes, or Frailes, I don't know. When Disciple of Frailes enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the creature's power. 6 mana though. Way too expensive, but it's also a land. I think the green ones are the worst ones. But I'm very excited for the blue, for Forsaken the Super. This one's cool. And Razor Grows Ambush also is really cool. Grist, Voracious Lava. So, 1 mana, 1/2 with Death Touch. That's really good. When it enters, when Grist or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it entered from your graveyard, or you cast it from your graveyard, you may pay green. If you do, you exile Grist and return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. So, and then it becomes Grist Plague Swarm. +1 to create a black and green insect creature token, then mill 2 cards and put a Death Touch counter on it, on the token if a black card was milled this way. That's okay, just making a token. Destroy target artifact or enchantment is very relevant. And then for each creature, -6 for each creature in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 black and green insect token. This planeswalker is pretty good, but I think the problem with Grist is the hoops you have to get through to get it onto the battlefield to transform it. You need to get a creature back from the graveyard, so you have to somehow have a graveyard enabling. And if they somehow have a rest in peace effect, Grist just never transforms. So we'll see how easy it is to transform Grist, but I think when you can transform Grist, it's going to be playable. I think Grist is going to be playable in Timeless for sure. Blood-Soaked Insight. This spell costs 1 less to cast for... Oh, now there's also dual lands that enter tapped, but they are also spells, so let's go over those. Blood-Soaked Insight. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. Target opponent exiles top 3 cards of their library until end of turn. Until your next turn, you may play those cards. If you cast a spell this way, mana of any type can be spent to cast it. Interesting card. I don't think it'll see much play, but it's a land, so maybe. Okay, so Drowner of Truth, Devoid. When you cast this spell, if Colorless was spent to cast it, create 2 Eldrazi Spawn creature tokens with Sacrifice it. I think this one is a little too slow, but again, it's a tap land, so maybe it's good. The next one is an enchantment. Current creature gets +2/+2 and has flying and lifelink. Again, tap land, that's why it's okay. I don't think these tap lands are very good so far, but they might see play because they're lands. On the end of turn, double target creature's power against first strike. That's pretty good. This one actually is really good. I think Legion Leadership was really good. This could see play in a Boros aggro deck. I think this one's really good. Oh my god, this with Slickshot Sorrow is going to be disgusting, actually. Yeah, this one is playable. This one's going to see play. Revitalizing Repast. Put a plus card on entire creature against indestructible end of turn. I don't think this one will see play, even though it's actually well costed. But I don't think it'll see play. I think it's like not impactful enough for Timeless. Rush of Inspiration, draw 2 cards, then discard a card at random unless you pay 2 energy. 3 mana, draw 2, it's a land, instant speed. This one could see play. For sure this one could see play. This one is an aura. +1/+1 for each creature and/or enchantment you control. So it's an all that glitters, but it's a land. This one could see play. I don't know if Selesnya enchantments will see play in Timeless, because it currently doesn't, but it could. Next we have Stomp. Good name. Target creature you don't control, you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. This one's good. 2 mana for this effect is Rabid Bite. Is Rabid Bite not just a sorcery? I think this is just Rabid Bite, but it's also a land. I think this one could see play for sure, but again, Rabid Bite is a little slower, so maybe it won't see play in Timeless. I don't know. This would be insane in Explorer. In Explorer, this would be broken, but in Timeless, I don't know. Suspension Ray, tap all creatures, target player controls. You may pay X energy, then choose up to X creatures, tap or a stun count on them. I don't think this is very good. I think this is medium, but at least it's a land, I guess. I don't know. I don't think this one's good, though. Next, Waterlog Teachings. Search a library for an instant or sorcery card with flash. Instant card or a card with flash. Sorry, I read that wrong. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. 4 mana. I think this is too slow. But again, it's a land, so maybe. And now, I think we're into reprints now. So these are all reprints. So we get Angel of Ruins, 7 mana for an angel. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 2 target artifacts or enchantments. Just remove them. And it has planes cycling though, so you can cycle it to get any planes card from your deck. That's pretty cool. However, if it was plane cycling 1, yes, but it's not. It's plane cycling 2. I don't think that's playable in Timeless. I think it's too slow. Decree of Justice. Very old card that was played way back in the day, but too slow now. Basically, for 4 and XX, so for 6 mana you make 1 angel. For 8 mana you make 2 angels. Or you can cycle it and pay 4 mana to draw a card and make a 1/1, or 5 mana to draw a card and make 2 1/1s, etc. Too slow and Timeless. Distinguished Conjurer. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. It's a Soul Sister, and then 5 mana extra another target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield. Too slow and Timeless. Orym's freaking Chant. This card is gonna be fun and unfun to play and play against. Orym's Chant. 1 mana. Target player can't cast spells this turn. Kicker of 1, so 2 mana. If it was kicked, creatures can't attack. This is a card that is like... This is like an OG lock your opponent out of the game type of card. Imagine Orym's Chant. Imagine... Or I play a fetch land. I pass the turn. On your upkeep, Orym's Chant, kicked. You can't attack and you can't cast spells. On your end step, put a fetch Mystic Sanctuary, put Orym's Chant back on top. My Teferi is ticking up. This card is disgusting. Like, and the problem with this card as well is that it's another Veil of Summer. Like, this card on its own might make Show and Tell become a 4-color deck and play white as well, so that they can Orym's Chant and then do their combo. Because you have to counter Orym's Chant, or else you can't respond to spells, right? You can only activate abilities, but you can't cast spells. I think Orym's Chant is really, really good, and it's definitely going to see play in Timeless. So yeah, we'll see. Recruiter of the Guard, 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a creature card with mana with toughness. Oh, with toughness 2 or less, put it into your hand, shuffle. But this is going to see play in Timeless because it gets Stoneforge Mystic, Bowmasters, Ragavan, Solitude. It gets all these important cards for the Death and Taxes deck. So this is going to make Death and Taxes a little bit better. And like I said, like Colossal... it's not called Colossal Dreadmaw. I forgot what it's called, but the Colossal Dreadmaw Living Weapon is also going to make Death Taxes a little better. So we'll see. Savin's Reclamation used to be played in Legacy Control. Return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's basically just a Cosmic Rebirth, but you can flash it back, and when you flash it back, you copy it, so you get 2 things back. Sorcery speed, though. Getting back at Teferi is always good. Getting back at Oko can be good. You can't target things that cost more. Cosmic Rebirth lets you get the card back to your hand if it costs more. This can't do that. So we'll see if it sees play, but I don't know. Deep Analysis, 4 mana, draw 2 cards, but flashback for 2 mana and 3 life. This is a card that it used to see play, but now I think the cost is too steep. 3 life to draw 2 cards is too much. But overall, good reprint, I suppose. Estra's Invocation, 3 mana. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of an enchantment you control, except it has at the beginning of your upkeep. You may exile this per enchantment if you do return it to the battlefield. So it starts copying your enchantments and keeps looping copying new enchantments if you wanted to. Kappa Cannoneer is going to see play in the artifact deck I mentioned. Improvise, you can tap artifacts to cast it. Ward 4 is basically unkillable. And it has whenever it or another artifact enters the battlefield, which I think that's a rewording. I think it used to just say whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, but whatever. Put a +++ counter on Kappa Cannoneer. It can't be blocked this turn. It's just a big beater that just can't be blocked. I think Kappa Cannoneer will see play in Timeless. Oh, here it is. Oh, it's a reprint. Okay, never mind. That's why. I was thinking of this card. I thought it wouldn't get shown, but okay. Reform. Pretty funny card, but not playable. It's too slow. It's a 4 mana 0/1. When it dies, create a 3/3. When that 3 dies, create a 6/3. When that 6/6 dies, create a 9/9. It's a funny, like, going up the chain card. It doesn't show the tokens. The tokens always, like, you see how it's a worm and there's a fish eating it? Then there'd be a fish with a whale eating it, and then there's a kraken that's going to eat the whale. Funny card, but not going to see play. Shrieking Drake, when it enters the battlefield, return a creature you control to its owner's hand. This is the card that, with that 4 mana green energy card, you can just keep bouncing things and playing things and popping off. Like, I think that's going to be a deck. Just infinite energy, I think it's going to be a deck, but we'll see. And then Buried Alive, search a library for up to 3 cards, creature cards, put them into your graveyard, then shuffle. This card is going to enable some disgusting stuff. So what's going to happen with this is it's going to be turn 2. They're going to cast a Brainstorm, then they're going to cast a Dark Ritual, and they're going to bury it alive 3 Arclight Phoenixes into their graveyard, and all 3 Arclight Phoenixes are going to come back because they cast 3 spells. They can even do this on turn 1 in theory if they go land, Dark Ritual, buried. Oh my god. That's actually gross. Land, oh, actually, even worse. Land, Dark Ritual, buried alive is 3 Phoenixes. You could even go, but on turn 2, you could go land, Thoughtseize, Dark Ritual, buried alive, and get 3 Phoenixes back. So this card I think will see play simply because that's a play pattern you can make. Then we got Kirk, Son of Yawgmoth, which makes black pips be able to be played for each black in a cost, any cost. You can pay 2 life rather than pay it. Every black pip becomes a Phyrexian black pip. I don't know whether that will see play. I think it's too slow though for Timeless. Nadir's Nightblade, whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Too slow, 3 mana. Theomancer was a cool card at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control no snakes, create a 1/1 black snake. Too slow for Timeless. Toxic Deluge, amazing card. 3 mana. You can pay any number of life, and then creatures get -X, where X is the life you spent. This is going straight into the Dimir deck. Really good card. You don't gain the life back like Meteoric Massacre, but you don't have to spend more than 3 mana ever, which is just so good. Victimize. Choose 2 creature cards in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature. If you do, return those cards to the battlefield tapped. It's a reanimate 2 targets by sacrificing 1. This could see play. I think it could see play in Timeless. I'm not sure. Like, sacrifice Stitch the Plier, it mills Atraxa, and actually, no, it doesn't do that because you have to target before you get to sacrifice the creature. So, you can probably somehow do something with this. Like, you can put Atraxa and Italia in the graveyard and get them both back at once and just win the game hard. I don't know. Cursed Mirror is an artifact that adds mana, but you can have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature until end of turn, but it has haste. I don't think that'll see play in Timeless though. Fledgling Dragon, threshold, as long as you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, it has +2/+3 and has fire breathing. It's just a bad Shivan Dragon. It's not gonna see play. Lelia Blade Reforger already is on Arena, so I don't have to comment on that. It already sees play kind of in the Blood Moon deck. Meltdown, destroy each artifact with mana value X or less. This is a really good sideboard card. Not gonna see play in main decks though. It's just a sideboard card. Meteoric Mace. Equip creature gets +4 and has Trample. And has Cascade. I don't think it's gonna see play, but Cascade is a cool effect, I suppose. I don't think it's gonna see play though. Annoyed Altasaur. 7 mana, retrample Cascade. More Cascade spells, but I don't think these expensive Cascade spells are going to see play. You want cheap Cascade spells, such as Cascade specifically into 0 cost cards that don't have a mana cost. Branching Evolution. If 1 or more +1 counters will be put on creature you control, twice that many counters are put on that creature instead. Just doubles counters. Pretty good effect. I don't think it'll see play because it's a little slow for Timeless, but it could see play. I don't know. Priest of Titania, gonna see play in Elves. I'm pretty sure this is gonna see play in Elves. We already have the 3 mana elf that taps for 1 mana for each elf, so this is gonna see play for sure. Sylvan Safekeeper, you can sacrifice a land and target creature gains Shroud until end of turn. This is just a way to sacrifice all your lands. In theory, I don't actually know if that's a in response to this trigger, you can sacrifice another land, so you can sacrifice all your lands if you want to. I don't know if that's a deck that exists at the moment, but maybe, who knows. And then, Wirewood Symbiote, return an elf you control to its owner's hand, untap target creature, activate only once each turn. That is interesting. I don't know, this is like a combo piece of some sorts. I don't know if it will see play, but it could. Also, returning an elf to its owner's hand again. Activate only once each turn is a little bit of a shutdown, but it could see play in that energy infinite creatures deck I was talking about. Some colorless reprints and artifacts. What the hell? Brea Ethereal Shaper, 4 mana, all the colors apart from green. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 blue Thopters, sacrifice 2 artifacts, choose 1. Deals 3 damage to target player or planeswalker. Target creature gets -4/-4, or you gain 4 life. Unplayable in time, it's too slow. Kali of the Vast, this is a commander, we already know this. So basically, when it attacks an opponent, you may put an angel, demon, or dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking that opponent. Too slow for timeless. We got the medallions. These cards might just break timeless. Like they might introduce actual storm to timeless, because these medallions, they all make it so that their color costs 1 less to cast. With Rude Medallion and Sapphire Medallion, you can cast red and blue spells for 1 less. So you can just storm off and cast a bunch of spells. I think these cards might see play in Timeless. I'm not sure though, because it depends on if the Storm deck is real. They're not gonna see play just in a normal deck. It's gonna be in some kind of Spellslinger deck, but we'll see. We'll see if it sees play. Then Junk Diver, and when it dies, return another target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. Unplayable. I don't even know how this is a Modern Horizons card. There's an Incubator. In the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creature spells of the chosen type cost 2 less to cast. Could see play in like some kind of creature combo deck. I don't know. Warm Power Stone. When it enters the battlefield, you tap, adds 2 mana. Too slow, unplayable. These lands deal damage to you. Barbarian Ring and Cephalid Colosseum. Barbarian Ring, if you have Threshold. Threshold was, I think, if you have 7 or more permanents in your like graveyard. I think, I don't know for sure. It deals 2 damage to end target. Activate. You have to sacrifice it though. I think. Oh yeah, activate only if there's 7 more cards in your graveyard. I think this one's bad, but Cephalid Colosseum. Sacrifice it. Target player draws 3, then discards 3. This is gonna see play in the Self Mill deck. I think. I don't know though. It might. I'm not sure. We'll see. Because we don't have actual dredge cards on Arena yet, so there's no dredging with this. Deserted Temple. 1 mana to untap target land. 1 mana to untap target land. This might see play. Maybe. Then Nesting Grounds. Move a counter from target permanent you control to another target permanent. Activate only as sorcery. Might see play. I don't know. Moving counters on Chalice of the Void, if that makes sense. I don't know. Phyrexian Tower is already on Arena, and then we have lands. Holy cow, that was a lot of cards. But hey. We got through it. Okay, guys, I hope you guys were able to sit through this 3-hour recording. I'm gonna edit it a little bit. I don't think I'm gonna edit it too much though. If you saw editing at the beginning and it then started falling off, that's because it's just a really long recording. That was all Modern Horizons cards and what I can think of them in Timeless. One more thing, there's the special guests actually. Hold on. Hold on. Just real quick. Let me check if they're here. Nope. So the special guests aren't here. But we will be getting all 5 pitch elementals in Timeless, so that's very important. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, if you like these kind of like really long set reviews, let me know. I'll do it for the next set as well. And yeah, that's about it. My voice is in shambles. I'm the control guy, and I bid you all farewell.